everybody to Morris Talk Live 100. I'm your host, Tarhaka Amana El Bay. And this evening, we will be dealing with generational wealth, food, health, mindset, and networking. Okay? We're going to be dealing with the following questions. How do we build generational wealth? What type of mindset does it take? What's going on in the food industry? Should our march to wealth include our ancient story? What part should networking play? With whom should we network? What should we take control of on contract? These are just a few of the things that we're dealing with here this evening. And I have some added information. I'll be coming to you from a book called Rich Dad's Advisories, Own Your Own Corporation. And the foreword was written by Robert Kiyosaki. And down here it says, why the rich own their own companies and everyone else work for them. The formula to that is inside this book. We're going to be bringing a little bit out of there. But before we get started, we're going to the commercial. And when we come back, we are going in. Y'all hold on a second.
Okay, everybody. October the 26th, right here in Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida, the Black Vegan Fest will take place. Live bands, live entertainment, professional chefs will teach you how to cook healthy. If you are a vendor, go to www.urbangeoponics.org and sign up. Bring your fishing gear with you. If you're a fisherman, we got the river right in the back of the property. We'll teach you how to grow your own food. Teach your children how to do the same thing. You'll learn how to prepare meals healthy. There'll be fun and games for the whole family. October the 26th, the Black Vegan Fest, right here in Jacksonville, Florida. Don't miss it. Make sure you got some cash with you because vendors will be on hand and they'll be selling their wares. October the 26th, the Black Vegan Fest, right here, Jacksonville, Florida. Don't miss it. Be here.
Okay, we're back. Now, the way I see it is if you're going to try to get involved with creating your generational wealth, I think we need to be looking at our health first. And that's the ingestion of our food, and which will contribute to a healthy mindset. And so what I want to start with here today, before we get down into the topic of about the generational wealth, I want to take a look at the food stuff. Now I have some short clips that I'm going to run here. And before I do, keep in mind that the chat room is open. And when y'all get up in there, be courteous and stuff. If you got some questions, don't hesitate to ask. The number to dial into this broadcast is 563-999-3443. Okay? And of course, you know, press 1 on the phone. That'll give me an indication you got something to say. I'll open up the line so you can get in. Okay? But the food, what kind of food? Because, you know, I always tell people to grow your own food. You know, I'm a big advocate of that. I got trees that I've grown, and we'll be, before the week is out, we'll be going over on the other side of town where we have the gardens being prepared, and we also will be taking in the grapefruit harvest from there before the week is out. But growing your own food. And so tonight I'm going to give you all the reasons why you need to do that so that you will have a healthy mindset when you go towards creating generational wealth. We're going to get down into what you need to know about that. But we're going to start with your health, and then we'll get on into talking about your networking and all of that good stuff. Okay? So let me go down in here and take a look. Now, this is a little segment of short clips. I want you to pay attention to what these people are going to say. And it may be a good idea if you listen to this particular podcast more than one time. Here we go.
We knew 50 years ago in the animal industry that vegetable oil was dangerous because we tried to get animals to gain weight faster by giving them 20% of their calories in their rations, corn oil or soy oil, because the first couple of weeks these animals getting corn oil or soy oil in their ration did gain weight much faster than the ones without it, but at 6 weeks they all died of heart attacks. So we knew it was a good idea that went sour somewhere along the line. And they said, what do we do now? We've contracted with farmers to grow millions of tons of soy oil and corn oil each year for the next 25 years, and no farmer's dumb enough to give this stuff to his livestock, so what do we do? And one guy popped up and said, well, it's not proven in humans yet. We'll just convince people it's good for them until it's proven otherwise. Well, that was 35 years ago, and the news came out 2.5 years ago, said that vegetable oil can cause heart disease. It's a nightmare, said Dr. Edward Emkin, a specialist in food oils for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It's really a nasty thing when you try to explain it. There's now total confusion for consumers. Why would there be confusion? Because the truth is different from what you've been taught.
In 1956, there were 3 TV networks, that's it. And the American Heart Association broadcast over all 3 on every TV screen in the country a new diet called the Prudent Diet. The panel said heart disease was out of control, and this diet would save lives. Corn oil, margarine, cold cereal. These were supposed to replace the foods our grandparents thrived on: butter, beef tallow, lard, beef, and eggs. But one panel member, Dr. Dudley White, said, hold on. Heart attacks were non-existent in 1900 when egg consumption was 3 times what it is in 1956. See here, he said. I started my cardiology practice in 1921 and didn't see a single heart attack patient until 1928. The fats were butter and lard back then, and no one had ever heard of corn oil. Dr. White knew something was off, but he was outnumbered. The leading voice that everyone chose to follow belonged to Ansel Keys, and his hypothesis was saturated fat from animals increased LDL cholesterol, which increased risk of coronary heart disease and death. And he based this on what he called his 7-country study. Years later, it was discovered that his study started out with 20 countries, actually, but Keys excluded those countries whose data didn't fit his hypothesis. So fast forward to 1957, Dr. Norman Jolliffe thought he had the answer: a diet of corn oil, margarine, and cold cereal. He formed the Anti-Coronary Club to prove it would save lives. But in 1966, the results were published, and they weren't what anyone expected. The Prudent Diet group had lower cholesterol, sure, but here's the kicker. 8 people on that diet died of heart disease. And the control group, the ones eating meat 3 times a day, not a single death. So what happened? The science was clear. The message was buried. Dr. Jolliffe himself passed away in 1961, not from heart disease, but from a clot, nonetheless, while following the very diet he promoted. And his obituary said he died of complications of diabetes. The takeaway: don't let history repeat itself. Real, whole foods, like butter, eggs, and meat, are not the enemy. It's time to rethink what we've been told about fats and heart health. Trust your instincts and look to the wisdom of the past, because sometimes the best way forward is to go back.
Finally, someone said it.
We've got into the habit of buying junk fast foods that have no actual food in them. We buy gallons of poisonous household cleaners when one degradable soft soap will do. We are poisoning our homes and wasting our hard-earned money for no good reason. Why? Because the advertising industry tells us to. They just want you to buy stuff. For example, if a company pollutes the environment or uses bad business practices, if you don't buy their stuff, they will change. If you don't want food with chemicals or GMOs in it, then don't buy it. The minute we start taking responsibility and spending our money wisely, every politician, every corporation, and leader around the world is going to know that we have woken up.
The American people are set up for failure. In the 1950s, the FDA had approved 700 different ingredients in our food products. That's it, 700. Today, there are over 10,000 chemicals and petrochemicals in our food products in the United States. In Europe, still 700.
Jesus.
And what gets crazier is when Food Babe, she's an influencer, right? Crapped on by the media.
Well, it's an unfortunate name, Food Babe.
But she's an advocate, and she's just a voice, a mother out there saying, hey guys, what's wrong with this picture? Let me show you what's in Fruit Loops in America, and let me show you what's in Fruit Loops in Canada. The same manufacturer, Kellogg's, is selling one product to the American people and a safer, less ingredient, less chemical-filled product outside the United States. They have the ability to sell it here, but they don't. because they know they can sell more addictive, more colorful, vibrant, that attract kid food sources here in the U.S.
So dark.
So you have the scientists understanding this and say, hey, we can make liquid fructose 1,000 times more potent than the fructose you'd find in berries. Same molecule, but in higher concentration. And we can add it to everything. We can add it to salad dressing. We're going to add it to ketchup. We're going to add it to children's school lunches. We're going to add it, obviously, to sodas. And we're going to make people insatiable. We're going to make their bodies and their brains think that they're preparing for winter that's never coming.
I didn't know that there was a unique way that it makes it more addictive and kills your satiety.
Hey guys, Dr. Shaky here. What if I told you that cholesterol didn't actually cause heart disease? What if I told you that the Journal of American Medical Association published in 2015 actual internal memos from the sugar companies back in the 50s and 60s showing that they paid off 3 Harvard professors to falsify data and publish fraudulent studies to make it appear as if cholesterol caused heart disease when it was really sugar? What if I told you that one of those professors was named head of the USDA? What if I told you that he helped author the 1977 USDA declaration that cholesterol caused heart disease and to stop eating fat cholesterol? What if I told you that after we stopped eating fat and cholesterol and stopped eating red meat and eggs, the heart disease rate tripled? What if I told you that there were books and journals and studies published in the Journal of American Medical Association and other top journals showing that sugar caused heart disease? These people are not your friends. Do your own research, know the history, and don't just believe something just because we've always thought it was true. Things change all the time.
This processed food, all of this stuff is carcinogen. Right. Has carcinogen, it causes cancer. So you have to stay away from non-God-made food. Whenever you unpack the scriptures, the life expectancy was an average of 912 years. Every herb-bearing seed should be to you as meat. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this. He said if you ate one meal every other day, you would only get sick one day every 4 or 5 years. What can I do to get rid of that one day of sickness every 4 or 5 years? He said if you eat one meal and fast for 72 hours, there will not be enough poison in your body from the previous meal to even get you sick one day in your life. Sicknesses, all the illnesses are food related. Your body is its own hospital, but to get it open for business, you got to fast. Green is for your digestive system and detoxing. So if you know the color coding of food, you don't have to know how to read all through the paragraphs of stuff that's on the back. Matter of fact, if it got a paragraph, it's not food. Matter of fact, if it got a barcode, it's not food. Wow. It's really an industrialized commodity posing as food. It's good tasting plastic. See how amazing God is. And he just laid it out there for you. He's the best knower.
The truth is hidden in a plain sight. We are one with the nature. If you want to know more about the herbs from our Creator's garden, this ebook will unveil that for you. Let thy food be thy medicine.
Everybody, we back. These are some short clips that I put together in order to put this information at the forefront for this broadcast because we're talking about generational wealth, and I don't think it's a good idea to even attempt it if you're an unhealthy person. And of course, you're going to need a healthy mindset. And so I think it's appropriate, and if you listen to these little short clips again, they put out some very, very vital information for you to know. But the bottom line is to grow your own food. And of course, we have more on that. And I'm going to bring this in because I haven't heard from my brother River for a while. And I'm going to bring that information out. And he's going to lay out some incredible stuff that they got going. They probably already got it going, but I know they're going to have it going in the very near future if they haven't already done it right now. And this is something that we need to know about. For those of you who haven't called Brother River Islam, he's going to lay this stuff out for you. I want you to pay close attention, okay? We'll be right back.
This is the Big Facts Network exclusive.
Alive from the Culture Lab in the ATL, it's time for that Big Facts, Big Bank. Baby J, DJ Scream, we here welcoming back to Big Facts for a classic episode. The one and only brother Gibbs. Brother RZA is What's up, my brother? How you feeling?
I'm well, man. I'm so happy, again, proud to see what all of you have done in your growth and all your progress, man. So this is beautiful. I'm at home.
Yes.
Always with us.
Sure, I feel it.
Always with us. Always with us.
Feet up, let's get into it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So since the last time we were able to build with you, like what's been going on? Like what's the progression been like? Have any of your views changed on certain things? Like what's been going on since the last time we spoke with you?
Still don't like this system. Still don't trust it at all. So I'm gonna make that clear.
Okay.
But
off top.
Off top. So we can get that clear. But as far as progress, there have been a lot of solutions that I've been working on. Tangible solutions to help the people when it comes to their health and when it comes to some other things that I'm launching. So I primarily have been working on physical, tangible solutions in multiple areas that affect the people. Because educating is, of course, number one, the spiritual side, the mental education. We have to get that. After that, we have to follow it up with physical, tangible things that can change our condition. So I've primarily been focusing on that.
I know one of the things you spoke out that, about, I think it was recently, was just kind of like not rocking with the education system, and you've been speaking out against that as well. What's your thoughts on just, I guess, the United States education system, and what are some ways you feel like it could be fixed or enhanced?
Well, the United States indoctrination system, in particularly, overall, is one that they have a particular goal for why they put you in front of a teacher, in front of a board, and they give you certain assignments overall. Now, again, depending on who you go in front of, depending on what college, what high school, etc., will have a different outcome. It also depends on the parents at the house, how they are educated, what they know, what they teach you about, what they help to extract from you and, tell the teacher about, etc. And it also depends on the environment as well. And then it also depends on what your personal mission is, what you want to learn, etc. So I do trust good teachers who teach properly, who give real information. But overall, the educational system is indoctrinating right now. Their primary objective is to switch gender roles, confuse the genders when it comes to children. Now they're telling little boys you can be a little girl today if you want to. They're telling little girls you could be a little boy if you want to today. This is happening in California. This is happening in Philly. This is happening out here in Atlanta. This is happening in different parts of the United States. That I'm totally against. That has nothing to do with the overall progress of humanity. Meanwhile, in China, in middle school and younger, they're teaching them about wood shop. They're teaching them about finance. They're teaching them about survival skills. Same thing in India, multiple areas. They're teaching them self-defense. They're teaching about technology, etc. All of these things. Foundational things to build an actual society. Meanwhile, we're telling our children you can be what you feel. You can identify as what you want to identify as. Eat whatever. Oh, you did your best. Let's just go ahead and pass them on. We are creating more uneducated, idiotic children today than ever before. The grades have slipped so low now in literacy, in comprehension skills, and I'm talking about across the board, across the United States. There are less intelligent children now. The IQ has slipped tremendously, and more people are functional illiterates, meaning more people are operating in day-to-day life who can't read or write. This is what is happening in the United States government as a result of this indoctrination system that people call education. So that's overall. But there are good teachers who teach right. We should really highlight them more, focus on the independent schools that actually produce good children who know what they need to do, who build society, because we have a lot of those too.
So that aren't necessarily mandated by that indoctrinated curriculum.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That are actually teaching real information, real history, real science, real skills, real trades, things like that. So we should really big them up and uplift them more, and not just go into the cookie cutter system that this government produces.
You think a big part of it too is just educating yourself, like just as you go through the journey of life, like just grabbing certain books, like we talked about some books last time, and just getting your own education.
Well, the funny thing is when you say get your own education, okay, well, most people go where they are directed to go, whether directly or indirectly. So whoever they look up to, that's what they're going to follow. So if they look up to their mama, their daddy, okay, well, they're going to follow what they do, how they dress, what they eat, how they talk. That's what they're going to do. Okay, well, if I see daddy picking up this book, I'm going to pick that book up. Or if I see him pick up no book at all, I ain't picking up a book at all. Or if I see him pick up a gun, pick up a bottle, that's what I'm going to do. Same thing with little girls. That's the first thing. So we have to realize that we are being influenced one way or another. The children are being influenced one way or another. So if you are in front of a camera and people are looking up to you, do your best to realize that you're not doing everything that you're doing in the mirror just to yourself. You're doing it in front of a camera that people are watching, so do your best to set a good example. That's why when you see certain rappers and artists randomly reading a book, that actually does a lot more than what people realize. It does a lot more. Same thing with parents and same thing with people in the hood. Pick up a book, and not just pick up a book. Read a book where your comprehension level is. All right, what do I mean by this? Don't pick up a book because you heard about this book. and you want to look smarter than what you really are. 'Cause now this is where you start getting people big capping out here like, okay, yeah, I read the autobiography of brother. Can you spell autobiography? Now hold on, I'm being serious. We got to humble ourselves. Be honest about where you are and go from where you are so that you can build yourself up. Stop trying to impress folks. Don't get out here trying to be something you're not. If all you can read is some ABC books, start there. Seriously though.
Yeah, there's no shame in that.
Ain't no shame in that. Because you want to comprehend this information so you can apply it. Not just to say, I read 1,000 books. No, bro, be interested in applying what you learn. So start where you can and build from there and encourage other people to do the same.
But then I want to say something too, another thing to what you said about educating yourself. I think that that's like an excellent master plan, but it can only work to a certain extent because you can only educate yourself once you know that like you need to educate yourself. So, and like under a certain age, like they don't really have a choice. You know what I'm saying? But to follow the rules, quote unquote.
The foundation.
So that's just a tricky slope.
People are being directed. Children are being directed. They follow what they like. They follow what they're interested in. That's why TikTok blew up the way it did. Because teenagers and a little younger, they're all on there following people, and people are doing a lot of educating on there. I see a lot of people doing some beautiful educating. Then you got a bunch of clown stuff, just as with every platform. So you have to go where the children's attention is going and give them the proper knowledge and information. So this falls on the parents. It falls on the parents. It falls on those of us in the neighborhoods. It falls on everyone who has some level of influence. We have to be demonstrating what it is that we want them to be doing. Like you said, educate yourself. All right, so are you doing that? Am I doing that? And do they see us doing that? Okay, if they see us doing it, then okay, we're not going to look like hypocrites out here because they're going to say, no, I did see the brother read, and I saw her doing this a little bit. I saw them studying this. Okay, cool. And then people will start to get that trending, and that'll become normalized. That's how it should be.
That makes sense. So when it comes to just, let's say, the African American community, going back to our last conversation and now, do you think there's been progress as a whole with us as a people, not just saying like one particular religion or belief, but as a people as a whole? Do you think from, I think it was 2021 when we last spoke, to 2024 going into 2025, do you think there has been any progress?
Dang, it's been that long already.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Time flies.
That is crazy. The overall progress I have witnessed when it comes to the awareness of good things and bad things. More businesses have popped up. More independent schools have popped up. More of our people are interested now in domestic farming, vertical farming. More of our people are interested in exercising and getting healthier. More of our people are interested in reading. This is stuff I've been noticing. A lot more of our people are becoming more educated about what's happening internationally and locally.
Right.
And a lot of our people are uniting and doing some good things when it comes to economics as well. I have seen this. Right? So we have made progress overall, I would say, but what is promoted is not all of that. So what gets promoted dominantly is the negative. So a bunch of divorces, nothing but twerking. This person punched this person out. This person talking about this person. Gossip, slander, backbiting. Gossip, slander, backbiting. That's what is promoted heavily on the platforms. As we already know, that's what the algorithm pushes. But it doesn't drown out the fact that we have a lot of positive that has been taking place. I personally have been doing a lot of work with our people across this country and in other nations when it comes to building economically and when it comes to creating more solutions. So I'm not just speaking in general. I'm talking about even my personal involvement too with the people that I'm working with. I'm seeing and we are building. I'm talking about currently I have business agreements when it comes to our brothers and sisters in Canada, brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, with those of us here in America. And not just talking, it's being done. You know, I currently have roughly 10 employees with a new company that I just launched. We're providing jobs. You see what I'm saying? You know, just to give it on a small local level, but this is happening with a lot of our people, and I'm loving it. You know, so I do see the progress. However, we have to promote that more and more and more and more. The progress. Don't even pump up the negative no more. I don't even get it at this point. It's about to be 2025. What are we still doing pumping gossip? I just don't get it. I don't understand what's the purpose here with our people still in the same condition overall to a degree, but a lot of us are doing better, so we should just focus on building more on the positive. That's all. We should just focus more on that. We have large platforms to do it. We have enough influence to do it. We can really do that.
So do you think that there will ever be enough progress to facilitate and I don't want to say accurate, to facilitate a meaningful shift in what we need to do for our culture?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's happening now. I'll say again, those with enough influence have to stop pretending as if them promoting positive is going to mess up their brand. The biggest thing I noticed is that people with a big enough platform, you know, a few of our people who made it out, got a couple dollars now, some influence, some power and authority. Okay, a lot of them, what you notice is they will feel as if they promote the positive far more than the negative, it'll lessen their brand, they'll lose money, they'll lose interest. The people ain't trying to hear that, all that conscious stuff, we ain't trying to, no, it's the opposite. The people want the truth now. Like people literally, we see it now. We want the truth. What are you really doing? What do we need to be doing? What's going on? What's the real? That's what people want. This is what I'm noticing across the board. People are not into the nonsense no more. The music videos ain't pushing the way they are. The music ain't streaming the way it is with the nonsense. Baby daddy this, baby mama this hold it. Okay, all right, bro. Okay, all right, got it. Thank you. Damn. Okay. Hey, y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah. We tired of it. Ain't nobody listening to them. Okay, great. You got 10 baby daddies. Great. Okay. Yeah. All right, you got 4, 5 children, brother. Okay, great. Nigga, we need to change our condition. What? Yeah. It becomes irritating at this point because you're looking at people like, bro, your net worth is this many millions right now. What are you talking about? You ain't got no power. You can't change nothing. What are you talking about? Yeah. You got money now. Let's stop playing this game now. Sister, what are you talking about? You got influence. You have money, influence. You're making progress. Stop playing. Mm-hmm. Stop playing. Agree to separate from this system and continue to build your own. That's all. The biggest fear, brother, again, is us pulling away from this system and separating. Like what y'all have done with this platform is you have literally separated from the mainstream. You have done this. This platform is not controlled by CNN, NBC, Fox, none of that. You have your own platform. You control what the people see, what they think, what they believe. You put people up here. You're doing that. Just letting you know, this is how powerful media is. Traditionally, media is the most effective devil in America. That's the traditional media. But right now, what y'all are doing, I would say is the opposite overall. Because you're educating, uplifting, you bringing people like your brother on who you know damn well this government don't like at all.
hey, you said from the beginning, like, off top, I ain't fucking with the system, right?
Absolutely.
What you think the grand scheme or the grand objective is, and who's a part of this system?
Number one objective is depopulation if they cannot control the masses. Meaning if they can't get the people to comply, do what they want them to do, go where they want them to go, depopulate. It's not according to Brother Reed, it's according to United States government policy. That's why they have chemicals in the food, air. Specifically, have a company called All Things Bugs. Y'all know how I'm about to do. We're about to go down the list of things. Y'all ready for that?
All Things Bugs.
Okay, so we're going to go into something right now. All Things Bugs. That is a company sponsored by Bill Gates, funded by Bill Gates, and the Department of Defense, and the Department, or the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, that is coming out with insect-based foods.
Huh?
I'm going to say it again. Insect-based foods. Cricket protein powder, worm-based ravioli.
Man, stop playing.
I'm so serious, brother. I need y'all to put up on the screen if you can. All Things Bugs. I'm just letting y'all know how far this is going, which is why we have to separate from the system. And when you say separate, it's in stages, it's in degrees, it's in levels. Because it sounds like a big thing. What you mean separate from the system? Okay, don't eat what they feed you. Feed yourself, right, for example. Okay, so we have to grow our own food. All right, that's one. And a lot of our people are doing that. The reason why they're able to fund these kind of corporations like this that produce insect-based food is because there are enough mouths that keep coming to them.
Is free lunch under that umbrella that they give the kids at school?
Absolutely. Because the lunch ain't free. It ain't never been free. Ever. It's sponsored. It's invested in. Just like the next thing I'm going to mention now is they're coming out. Remember, we talked about the shots. And everything your brother said turned out to be true. Now they said, well, damn, we know that they're not going to take these next round of boosters and all this nonsense. So what are we doing? University of Riverside in California. I'm so sad that it's in California again. But University of Riverside has been studying putting mRNA, messenger ribonucleic acid, which is the primary component of the shots, putting that in lettuce, potatoes, soybeans. Y'all hear what I'm saying to you? So basically, instead of you taking a shot, because we know you more than likely ain't gonna take another one after what we just did to y'all, you gonna eat this lettuce though in them burritos and them bowls. You gonna eat these potatoes with them eggs and all that you eating. I'm serious. Y'all hear what I'm saying to you?
Yeah,
this is a very real thing.
No,
mRNA injected foods.
How you be
so
knowing
you're gonna
all
eat
this
your
stuff?
vaccines instead of getting the shot of a vaccine.
How you be knowing all this stuff?
I know because I must know. All right, now that's that's a Matrix, man. Y'all should have known that. I'm telling you now, brother. It is my duty. It's my purpose, right? It's my mission. Like we all have our place in the mission. This is mine. Not only do I have to know the information, I have to spread the information, then I have to create solutions with which to activate on that information.
And all this stuff can be researched and fact checked
all day long. That's why I'm giving you names, references, all that. Because we're not going to get up here and just spew some nonsense just so we can look good and look at me. But I'm not into that nonsense. We do this in real life.
So, but why they don't speak on that, like on the news channel and stuff?
Well, the news, hell no, they going to tell you that on the news. They'll do this. They'll put it in the place where black folks don't go, in written text, for the most part. So right now you have it in scientific studies, it's in text. Right now, if you Google all things bugs, please do it right now, live and in the studio right now. Google it. I want y'all to see it for yourself because it is unbelievable. They're saying that insects are the #1 untapped resource for food on the planet. They said they're high in minerals. That's how they talking. It's like a movie.
Bugs, Bill Gates.
Now, while she's ruining your life right now, we're going to go to the next area of this. All things bugs is one of them. The mRNA injected lettuce and all that. Mind you, this is when I say.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we want right there.
So they're funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
That's one of them. They're also founded by the Department of Defense. They're also funded by the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, which is the area of the United States government that has robotic snakes, robotic dogs, robotic cheetahs. You have robotic animals. That's DARPA. Robotic drones, hummingbirds, flies, mosquitoes, all this kind of stuff. That's DARPA. So they help to fund them on that. And that's not the only one. So what I'm not...
So they're trying... So look, not
No, please, go ahead.
This is crazy. So they're trying to promote it like... They're saying in the dossier for this that it's an innovative global health and development research project titled Good Bugs Used to Make Sustainable Food for Malnutrition Children. So they're trying to make it seem like this is a positive thing.
Absolutely. That's how Satan works. He comes in the name of health, in the name of a positive thing. First thing they're pushing is to feed this to children in third world countries, #1. They're going to feed them bugs, literally, and say that, hey, this is food. It's good. If you look on that website, y'all see it. All them things, the spaghetti, the pastas, all that is made out of bugs. But literally, brother, this is serious. They also have, oh man, y'all, hey, look, see, it's big facts. Right? Now when I come, you know what's about to happen.
What is going on?
Oh yes,
they also have what?
They have something called maggot milk and maggot ice cream. I'm very serious.
Maggot milk.
Maggot milk
actually is out, like in stores.
It's out. Specifically in certain parts of Europe, they're running the beta test right now. And when you see one of the companies, after they grind these maggots and they freeze and they add sugar and all that kind of stuff, the first people who they brought it to were some Africans and had them eat it. This is very real. This is not a joke. It's very real, and this is where they're pushing it because the main thing is we rely on them for our food, and we shouldn't, and we don't have to. There's enough of our people right now growing food. We should just encourage more. We should go and find the farmers markets, spend our money with them, so that we can get our fruits, vegetables, and all that. If you eat meat, get your chickens, your lamb, and all that. It's a lot of our people who are farming now. Y'all know what time it is. So we got to focus a lot more on that. Even if you live in the projects, you can do some vertical farming. Find you a nice little square area and get a vertical pot. They don't cost much at all, and you can start growing food in the house. This is not something that's, oh man, you need $20,000, $30,000. You need to buy a whole bunch of land. No, you could be right in the house doing this, right in your apartment doing this, and you must do it. Because if you don't, then our lack of preparation is going to push for them to be activated to do what they're going to do. We get hungry, they like, here, I got something for you to eat. That's how it is, bro.
That's disturbing. Like,
It's very real. But we are being forced to do something for ourselves.
That's crazy.
Dick Gregory spoke about that a lot before he passed. Like,
Absolutely.
he was decades ahead on the food is the warfare.
Absolutely. Well, he constantly would say, because people would ask him where he learned it from. One, Baba Dick Gregory, one of our greats, and may Allah be pleased with our brother, he would do independent research consistently. He was one of the coldest researchers. Outside of being a comedian and all that, he was one of the coldest researchers, Dick Gregory. He would always reference the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He would always reference him and talk about the fasting that he learned from him. He would talk about why we eat one meal a day. He would talk about certain foods to eat, foods not to eat. He would talk about all of this because he saw what the government was doing, brother. They have been experimenting with biochemistry for a very long time. And the last thing is, when it comes to warfare, one of the biggest ways to get a people to bend over and have them do what you want them to do, you starve them. You control the food and the water supply. That's the basic in war. Basic. So when you hear people say we're at war, okay, you need to get an example of it. Your food is poisoned overall. Certain areas you may have some decent food here and there, but they're moving to poison more of it. And they're continuing to, I'm talking about, brother, they have heavy funding. This is not slowing down. It is very much so a real thing. So what you going to do? That's the only point. What you going to do about it? We're going to keep talking about it, complaining about it, or we're going to take a little bit of these dollars that we get in our pocket every week, or set aside that monthly food budget and go and buy food from good people who have farms, one, so that they don't have to sell their farm because they're not being supported enough. Shout out to all the black farmers and all the farmers in general. Number two, they're being sued by the government because they refuse to adopt these terrible food practices where they're being told to inject GMOs and certain seeds that are heavily toxic and radiated, and they refuse, so they're trying to poison their crops. This is what farmers have been fighting back all throughout the U.S., Europe, and all that for the last, I would say, 5 to 6 years, heavily.
Yeah, I've been saying that.
Heavily, because they're like, yo, you already got McDonald's in every damn corner. Leave us alone, damn. Let us grow our own food. They're like, no, but you're not putting this in there. We need you to, no, we want good, healthy food. So the government is at war with the farmers because the farmers are helping to bring about a solution for the people. Y'all got to know for real what's going on. I know they just gave the farmers, I think it was, $20 billion black farmers to split between all of them, which is not a lot of money. To split between all the black farmers, like all of them across the United States. That's embarrassing, but fine. But that's the war right now, is the food. And in the water, of course, that's another one. But the solution is we have to grow our own food, and we have to continue, because a lot of our people are doing it, but we need to add more to that.
So you eat one meal a day?
1 meal a day.
How long you been doing that?
Say strong for about 6 years.
So how it start? I'm saying like typical day. Wake up.
Typical day. Well, I start with water. I drink water in the morning first off. I try to add in some lime, or I have my immune boosting liquids. One is called The Answer. Y'all should definitely get that. That's dope. So I add that into the water, drink that in the morning. And then I normally wait. It depends on the day, and it depends on what I'm doing. So if I have a very busy day, then I'll probably eat a little before 3, probably before 1, even if I have a busy day. Then I won't eat after that. But if my day is not as busy, I try to eat after 1, after 2. And then I'm good after that for the most part. I may add a plant protein smoothie later on if I need a little more, but other than that, I'm good.
Yeah. Is that part of what inspired Intellectual Power, Unleash Your Intelligence? These are capsules, supplements. You want to talk a little bit about this?
Absolutely. The first thing is go to intellectualpower.net. Do not buy this because you like Brother Reza. Don't like it because, oh yeah, my brother's cool. No. Go look at the reviews. Go see for yourself what the people are saying of how it's helping them. I want you to know that after the experiment that took place on the United States and the world over the last 3.5, 4 years, the first thing I said was, I know that after these people get injected, which by the way, the U.S. government injected over 5 billion people on the planet with at least 1 dose through other governments and in the United States. The result of that is horrific. They did a study on 99 million people who took the shot. This is public knowledge now. The result is neurological disorders, Guillain-Barré syndrome, reproductive issues. This is all public now. A study on 99 million people who took the shot. Okay, that's just one small thing. There's a whole lot more to that, but I want you guys to go look that up. And I said, if I get back out here, what I'm not about to do is just say, hey, y'all, I got some more bad news for you. That's what I do not want to do. What I wanted to do, and thankfully I can say I am, is coming out with a solution that helps with the health of the people. So your brother left the country, went to the island of St. Lucia, and I met with some of our Rastafari brothers and sisters. I gave them a list of 29 ailments, issues, negative situations that the people are dealing with. Everything from insomnia to erectile dysfunction to brain fog to digestive issues to diabetes and cancers and heart problems. All of this stuff, these are things that the people are dealing with. I need a formula that helps to resolve or at least address or at least help with these 29 different things. All right? First thing. Second thing, I got with a cellular and molecular biologist, a scientist by the name of Dr. Christina Parks. All black folk, all heavily qualified. And I said, I need you to look at the scientific research behind these herbs once we finally came up with the formula, because we have to make sure it's synergistically effective. Because when you put certain herbs together, sometimes they can cancel out each other. So you have to make sure they go with each other, they build and they benefit each other. Okay, so we did that, boom. And the main thing was, believe it or not, I said I want to have something that helps people to detox from the chemicals that are injected into them from that shot. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And this is where we get into a real deep area, because talking about it is one thing, but when you help to create a solution that helps to resolve that problem, now you can become an issue and a problem yourself. So we have the science to now validate that some of the components of some of the ingredients in intellectual power in fact help to detox people from the mRNA spike protein that was injected into them as a result of that experiment during COVID from those shots. Did y'all hear what I just said to you?
I ain't taking.
Good job. But did y'all hear what I just told you?
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So not taking is good. The virus, that's another thing, and then also the people who did take it, we have something called shedding. Everyone in science knows that through your droplets, through the air, sexual intercourse, blood issues and moisture exchange, if someone did take it and you involved with them, around them, in a room with them.
Oh shit.
Here we go. So, now this is just real because a lot of people have been asking this question, and the scientists all over the world are angry because they are mad, some of them, that they pushed this. Then the rest of them are pissed off because the government was successful in pushing this, making the whole world of people think they were crazy when they knew the truth and they were telling people, no, this doesn't make any sense. You can't inject people with this. This is horrible. What are you doing? So now they're all coming out admitting it. Fauci was brought before the United States government about 7 times, U.S. House Committee, and walked back damn near everything he said over the last 3 years. Did y'all hear that? Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
He just, everything. All the way down to the 6-foot distance. He said, well, I didn't say the 6-foot distance was scientific. It wasn't. It just happened. Do y'all hear what I'm saying to y'all? That's why we say we don't trust this damn satanic government.
That's fucked up.
Period. You see what I'm saying? So, and there are lawsuits and all this. So the point is, that's why your brother created this. They ain't had a damn thing to do with money. I could have did something to make a whole lot of money a long time ago. But I said I have to be able to get out here and help the people with a solution that helps them with their health. So go to intellectualpower.net. The science that I just told you, that's up there. All that is up there. The reviews up there. Everything is up there.
Do you think the world doomed? Like, you think shit doomed? Like, this shit just fucked up? Like, for real?
You know, Bang, you ask me the same question every time.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're like, man, this thing's over, huh? It's over.
Is it?
I would say a certain condition of the world is doomed, meaning anybody who just wants to live in ignorance ain't gonna happen no more. You will be slapped awake at this point.
What you mean?
You don't have a choice to live in ignorance anymore. You can't pretend like you don't see what you see.
Okay,
it's out there.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So that part of the world, it's a done deal for that. Like, you're not going to be able to escape the reality of what's happening.
Yeah.
You now just got to make a decision on what you want to do about it. That's pretty much it. You want to change your own condition, or you want to act like you don't see it and then just go with whatever the government says to do and whatnot. That's up to you. But at this point, I would say that part of the world is doomed. The ignorance of the people is doomed. Because it's time to...
All right, we back. There you have it, Brother Wilson. You talked about the crickets, the maggots, and of course, we already did previous broadcast about the COVID-19 thing, and I put some information out on YouTube when it first came out with it. And before I could get it up there in less than 15 minutes. I mean, it was less than 10 minutes. They snatched it down and threatened to close my account if I put this kind of truth back out there again. And you go in the grocery store, people 6 foot apart, you sneeze somewhere, everybody running, grocery store packed full of people buying garbage. I mean, it was a mess. Then I told a story about a lady that went into a health clinic to get a shot. And when she walked in there, you had to sign this paper, roster, this book, put your name on there, or put your phone number on there, put your email address on there. She did that, but the place was so packed full of people, she couldn't stay because she had something else to do. So she just turned around and walked out because she, it was too many people in there. How about some girl get an email saying that she tested positive for the virus? Then they tell you about all these people dying. All this is in the media now, all over the country. We got 6,000 deaths in California. About 12,000 people in New York have died. 1,000 and 1,500 in Florida. And Alabama, Mississippi, death all over the United States. But you get in your car and ride past the cemetery, there's no activity. It was dead the day before, the day before that, dead the day after the COVID-19 and all these deaths that the media saying is happening. And no ambulances running up and down the road, ain't nobody dropping dead on the street. That's a wait a minute. What the heck is going on? And putting out information, hey, it's a farce, it's a lie. Don't go for it. Don't let them inject you with nothing. And then I got people that I know from, man, I got the COVID-19 virus. I mean, you ain't got it. Ain't you what? You're constipated. Go get your work and But anyway, let's see what type of government that we're dealing with. Okay? What type of government would do such a thing? Yeah, hold on a minute.
I was invited recently to participate in a panel discussion about Western misconceptions about Islam. I was promptly disinvited because apparently I'm controversial. I did hesitate actually to accept the invitation in the first place because I told the host that I'm not strictly speaking a religious speaker. He had a number of da'is and comparative religion debaters who were going to be on the panel, and I figured they would be sufficient for their discussion. But anyway, I did accept the invitation, the momentary invitation, because frankly I wanted to redirect the whole inquiry, because in my opinion this whole proposition is misguided. I don't see any point in correcting Western misconceptions about Islam generally, when in fact their misconceptions about their own so-called civilization are much more debilitating for them. I think that's much more serious. If you can correct these misconceptions, then I think Islam can pretty well speak for itself. And the whole idea of explaining Islam to these people while they are living in a state of abject confusion and abject ignorance about their own society, well, it just doesn't make sense to me. In fact, I think it just contributes to their delusions about the West, because it presupposes that they are in some sort of a position to judge another civilization, another belief system. We're supposed to explain to them in a way that will align with their completely inaccurate understanding of who they are and what kind of a society they live in and what kind of a so-called civilization they come from. Like, for example, we're supposed to convince them that Islam respects women's rights as if they respect women's rights. We're supposed to assure them that Islam does not oppose liberty as if their society does not oppose liberty. We're supposed to tell them that Islam is not violent when they are the most violent civilization that has ever plagued this earth. So it has always seemed to me that step one is getting Westerners to actually understand what the West is and what it isn't. I don't think you should ever take an approach to them that affirms their delusions in any way whatsoever. I mean, how are you gonna get someone to understand the truth about your civilization when they are completely immersed in falsehood about their own so-called civilization? Like I'm supposed to convince you about the moral rectitude of Islam while you are the least moral so-called civilization in history? No. You need to know yourselves. You can talk to each other about women's rights, but you can't say anything about that to anyone in the global south. When you talk about respecting women, well, it's like Diddy talking to his mother or something, you know, talking to someone who doesn't know that man, who doesn't know what he does, who doesn't know how he behaves, and who just thinks the best of him. No, the global south knows what you did and they know what you do. You wouldn't get to know the BTK killer by talking to his wife and family or his co-workers or the people at his church. I mean, they tell you how wonderful and mild-mannered he is, how decent he is, how respectful he is. No, you need to talk to the people who he tortured. You need to talk to the victims who survived his attacks. That's how you'll know what kind of a man he is. If you want to know how much the West respects women and how much they believe in human rights and dignity and so on, then you need to talk to their victims and see if they agree with their propaganda. Did you believe in equality and women's rights when you were raping Congolese women in public? When you were committing mass rapes in Algeria as counterinsurgency tactics? You know, did you believe in women's freedom and equality when you locked women in Namibia in concentration camps and raped them en masse? Or when you basically decriminalized raping African women because you thought they weren't actually even human? When you raped Angolan women in refugee camps or forced Indonesian women into sexual slavery or committed widespread and entirely routine and approved of sexual violence across Vietnam, across Cambodia, Laos, and so on, and in Burma. What was that? Feminism? And when you raped Filipinas en masse, writ large, where were your sophisticated values then? I know I'm not talking about ancient history. Yes, you did it in colonial times, and you've kept doing it ever since. You never stopped enslaving women, raping women, murdering women in the global south. You never stopped doing that. You were doing it in Iraq, you were doing it in Afghanistan, and in Haiti, and in Bosnia, and in Syria. Yes, in fact, when you all calculate your rape statistics, as bad as they are, the way you calculate them, you fail to include all of the rapes that you commit overseas. When you put together how many of your own women get raped and assaulted in your own country, you should actually add to that all of the women that you rape and assault in other countries. You know, you talk about immigrants coming to the West and being criminals, but you never sent anyone but criminals to the global south. All your Western Enlightenment colonizers, all your praise the Lord and pass the ammunition missionaries, all your God bless America soldiers, all your degenerate businessmen, your so-called best and brightest that you sent over to our countries, who came to our countries to civilize us and Christianize us, to save our women from oppression and misogyny and our backward ways and our backwards cultures. You only sent over rapists and torturers and murderers. That's who you sent over to civilize us. Why, I don't know how you can even have the gall to pretend that you ever cared about women's rights, when all that you ever showed us in terms of women's rights is that you think you have a right to our women. And that's not even mentioning the misery of the woman over there in the West. Why, you raise her from childhood to be an object, just a decoration to be enjoyed by all and sundry. You teach her to conform to the ever more degrading societal standards, to wear revealing clothing, to be a sex object, to be eye candy. And then you have the audacity to claim that you believe in women's rights and equality. I mean, even your female Olympic athletes, who are the best at what they do, you require them to dress like pole dancers in their competitions. And all you do is ogle them, look at them and gawk at them instead of appreciate their discipline and hard work and training and skills. You know, you created OnlyFans and taught your women that what you truly value is degeneracy. You know, she could go to school, she could get degrees, She could become a doctor. She could become a lawyer. Should become an engineer or a CEO. But she'll never get rich faster than if she gets naked on camera and defiles herself for strangers. That's what your society rewards women for. You know, a stripper can make more money than an executive. You're teaching them what you want them to do, what you want them to be. Because your whole system denotes value exclusively in terms of pay packages. So you are implanting in women's minds and imposing on women's psyches that this type of behavior is what makes them valuable in your society. You know, more than half of the women in your society, more than half, feel pressured into performing abnormal sexual acts that they're not comfortable with just because their partners have warped their brains on pornography. So now they expect their wives and their girlfriends to act like porn stars. Meanwhile, most of those porn stars are out of their minds on drugs and numb from childhood trauma. But you want normal women to act like that. And you're mad if they don't. 87% of college-age women report being compelled to do these types of abnormal things sexually that they don't want to do because of your great feminist society. Girls as young as 13 say that they feel pressured to try to look and behave just like women in pornographic videos. 13. And because you dismiss the necessity of marriage, promiscuity has become normalized in your culture, making women feel compelled to become sexually intimate much earlier than they're comfortable doing. And they're made to feel like something's wrong with them if they don't do it. And then you gaslight them into thinking that this is freedom. You gaslight them into thinking that this is women's liberation. You're psychologically abusing the women in your society on every level. 69% of girls in the 5th to 12th grades report that magazine pictures influence their idea of what they're supposed to look like. 45% of women report feeling pressure to try to achieve a certain body shape or a certain size. And 1 in 5 women report that because of this, they experience body dysmorphic disorder, wherein they think that there's something wrong with how they look. They think there's something wrong with how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them, if they don't look like a supermodel in some magazine, or look like a porn star in some video. You know, you claim to believe in women's equality, but the data shows that women in your society are still objectified and still marginalized. 60% of women report feeling pressure to try to dress in a way that is socially considered to be attractive or sexually attractive by societal standards, which just means showing men more of their bodies, exposing more of themselves to men. 45% of women report feeling that they need to show more skin and show more skin that they're even comfortable showing in order to be considered attractive in your society. Look at what you're doing to women. The media perpetuates this culture of objectification, with women being depicted in revealing clothing in 70% of advertisements. Now, women are exposed, on average, to 5,000 advertisements per day. And 70% of those advertisements feature women in revealing clothing, meaning you are constantly messaging to women that they have to be as undressed as possible if they want to be socially acceptable. That's your society. So of course your women are suffering. They're suffering from psychological consequences. The psychological consequences of these types of pressures, this type of gaslighting and manipulation. At least 1 in 5 women report experiencing anxiety or depression due to the pressure that they feel to wear revealing clothing that they don't want to wear. And they're obviously more likely to develop dissatisfaction and low self-esteem about themselves and how they look. And you pressure them into looking and acting like porn stars. Pressure them to have sex before they're ready, and pressure them to do things in the bedroom that they don't want to do. Not to mention the real physiological detrimental repercussions and the ramifications and the consequences of promiscuity on a woman, mentally and emotionally and physically. That's why your women are the most depressed, the most neurotic, the most medicated, why they have the most anxiety, the most stress, the most mental and psychological illnesses? Because they live in the most woman-hating society in the world. And you still have the nerve to expect us to assure you that we care about women. Everything about your civilization declares your utter contempt for women. I'm telling you, you don't know who you are. You don't know what you are. You don't know what kind of a society you live in. You live in a world of lies. Forget about trying to correct your misconceptions about Islam. You have nothing but misconceptions about your own so-called civilization. It's not a civilization, it's a hallucination. And it's absolutely comical, the extent of your lack of self-awareness about your own culture, about your own society. You know, when I lived in the Middle East, I had Americans back home worried for my safety because they thought that every place in the Arab world was non-stop bombs going off, violence and bloodshed all the time. Meanwhile, you've had over 650 mass shootings in America just last year. Not to mention the fact that most of the bombs going off in the Middle East are American bombs being dropped from American warplanes. Whatever violence we have in the Muslim world, you brought to the Muslim world. America's #1 export is violence. As a matter of fact, it's one of the only things that you still manufacture over there. It's one of the only things you still excel at, better than anyone else. Is Islam a religion of peace? You must be joking. You've dropped 500,000 bombs on us in just the last 25 years and killed over 1 million Muslims in just the last 25 years. That's not even including the current genocide in Gaza that you're committing. Again, this is like the BTK killer wanting someone to assure him that they don't subscribe to violence. What are you even talking about? Your whole society, your whole so-called civilization is violently extremist, more than anyone else has ever been. You love to threaten your enemies with bombing them back to the Stone Age without it ever registering in your mind that this is a Stone Age mentality. The only difference between you and a caveman is that you have gadgets, but you're the land of the free, right? Islam is so strict, it's so rigid, you know. Muslims don't have any freedom. Meanwhile, America has more laws and more regulations than any country on earth. You have more laws and more regulations than Saudi Arabia, more than Afghanistan, more than any Muslim country. You can't even remodel your kitchen in America if you're a homeowner, which you probably aren't. But if you are a homeowner and you have a kitchen and you want to remodel your kitchen, you can't even do that without a permit. You have to get a permit to remodel your own kitchen. Your government decides what food you can eat, what food you're allowed to eat, what food is legal for you to eat. Meanwhile, they allow genetically modified foods, fake foods, foods with all sorts of additives and chemicals and what have you. And a farmer, you know, who grows food on his own land, he's not even allowed to sell food to you right from his land, right from his farm, right out of his crops, fresh, without FDA approval. He even needs government approval to give you an apple from a tree. Your government even decides how hot your shower is allowed to be. It's absurd. But of course you'll defend all of those laws. You'll defend all of those laws because you'll say they're there to protect you. Okay, if you say so. But you don't have a choice, do you? You don't have the freedom to not follow those rules, do you? We have a comparatively minuscule set of laws, most of which are self-imposed. With no external monitoring, no external enforcement, we follow them by our own conscience. But what you mean by how strict and how rigid we are, what you're talking about is basically all the sins and the debauchery that your government does allow. So that's actually the freedom that you're talking about. You're talking about the freedom to be uncivilized, the freedom to be primitive, the freedom to be hedonistic. And that's what makes you, in your mind, more civilized than us. The freedom to be uncivilized. You think that makes you more civilized. And somehow that makes sense to you. I'm telling you, your society, your so-called civilization is playing you for a fool. They're even fooling you about your own prosperity. I mean, take the United States, the richest country in the world, right? But just look at different states in America. Take a state inside of America, any of the 50 states, and look at it as if it was a country. Look at its GDP, look at its standard of living, look at its quality of life, look at its infrastructure, and so on. Say if you took Mississippi, if Mississippi was a country, or Idaho, or Montana, or New Mexico, or Kentucky, if those states, those American states, if those were countries, well, they'd be equivalent economies. Economically, they'd be equivalent to an Argentina or to a Colombia or to Thailand. They would be low to middle income countries. Those American states, they would be low to middle income countries. That's the reality of your life. Most Americans live in conditions, they live in economies within their state that are exactly the same as countries that you would regard as third world countries, as developing countries. That's how you're living in real life. I mean, unless you're among the so-called coastal elites, your state is basically a third world country. And even in those coastal elite states, you know perfectly well that there are cities and neighborhoods inside of those elite states, those rich states. There are cities and neighborhoods that are just as poor as any poor city in the global south. But they've got you thinking that you're better off than people in the developing world. They've got you thinking that you're better off than people in the global south. Why, if most of the states in America were countries, they'd probably be trying to join BRICS. And the same goes for the UK. If you're not living in London, if you're in, say, the north of England, it's the same. It's a third world. You're in the third world. If you're in the north of England, you're in the third world. You're in a developing country. You are deeply and comprehensively misled about your societies, and you still expect Muslims to answer you about anything? You're standing there butt naked in a cowboy hat telling us that our suit is out of fashion. No, there's no point in trying to make you understand us when you don't even remotely understand yourselves. The whole world has been indulging you, has been indulging the West, and what they want to believe about themselves. We've been indulging you for far too long. It's time for you to start justifying yourself to us. We're not going to pretend that you're in any sort of a position to demand us to justify ourselves to you, when the reality is that no one is, and no one has ever been, as violent, as oppressive, as misogynistic, as restrictive, and as opposed to liberty and to human dignity as Western so-called civilization.
All right, we're back. Okay, there you have it, Mr. Bolton. He laid it out. So now, as Brother Elizabeth Islam had laid out the food stuff and the health stuff to us, and which is totally unbelievable, the things that he was saying. I just wanted to bring Mr. Bolton on to show you what kind of society would even do that to its own people. But there you have it. Mr. Bolton laid it out for you. Now, we will be getting on down into this generational wealth thing, but we're going to take a little quick break, and when we come back, we'll be moving forward. Y'all hold on a minute.
Let me make sure I got this right. You have a mortgage. You were told the bank would give you a loan for your home, but when you got to the bank, they didn't give you anything or sign anything. But presto changeo, you have a new mortgage. Then you find out your mortgage has been sold to another company you don't know and don't have any contract with. It seems to me something is wrong. When you walked out the bank, you had some papers in your hand, but no check. Let's get to the bottom, down to the bottom of this kind of stuff. Go to TarhakaDeadElimination.org. That's TarhakaDeadElimination.org. Let's bring the fraud to a close. How about that? This kind of stuff is going on all over the United States, but most people don't even understand what to do about it. TarhakaDeadElimination.org.
Thanks for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you hit...
All right, we're back. Now, we're going to be hearing from Dr. George Frazier here tonight on this generational wealth thing. And, but before we do, we're going to come a little bit closer to home. And we're going to deal with when you be the owner. That's something we've already discussed. We talked about your trust and all that. But we want to bring in a little Rob Ryder, and then we'll be leaving there and going into the generational wealth thing. Okay? So y'all hold on, and keep in mind this gentleman right down here in Florida. Pay attention.
Hey everyone, Rob Ryder. It's November 14th, 2012. It's like my 80th video. I'm really tired of doing them. But, you know, along the way, on this journey, pushing into that cloud of unknowing, looking for answers, eventually you hope to find the wall, follow the wall, find the door. And here recently, because of the grace of God, I've had some blessings bestowed on me. Some personal, some I can share. So, because I want to go visit some coral. God, I love coral. I'm here in Michigan, it's cold. I want to go be warmed by the coral. So how do you get there? Well, we got to get out of the mess we're in. Let's see what we can do. This is very, 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 very interesting. It's a short act in the Michigan compiled laws. Carrying on business under assumed or fictitious name. It sounds benign enough. But, you know, stay tuned. You'll see what it did to you. So, an act to regulate the carrying on of business under an assumed or fictitious name. Certificate required to carry on business under assumed name. Filing, form, contents, fee, execution, acknowledgement, exceptions, yada, yada, yada. Number 1, a person shall not carry on, conduct, or transact business in this state, small s state, under an assumed name, under a designation, name, or style other than the real name of the person owning, conducting, or transacting the business, unless the person files in duplicate in the office of the clerk of the county or counties in which the person owns, conducts, transacts, intends to own, conduct, transacts business, or maintains an office, a certificate on a form furnished by the county clerk, setting forth the name under which the business owned is or is to be conducted or transacted, and the true and real name of the and address of the person owning, conducting, and transacting the business. You're going to tell them you're the owner. And we're not quite ready to go this form yet, but this is kind of what it looks like. Every county has one, certificate of persons conducting business under assumed name. Got to find a fee of $10. This one happens to be for St. Joseph County. So it goes to the county clerk. It doesn't go to the Register of Deeds. This is at the county. And I was talking to Bobby about this last night, and so he went and looked, did some research online, and found a book where it talks about this. And so every state has some version of this. I can't say everyone. I didn't look at every page it was talking about, but it was showing how all these different states use this particular thing, assumed or fictitious name. It's worth looking up. So what do you need to do? At the time of filing the certificate, the person shall pay the clerk a filing fee of $6. The certificate shall be executed and duly acknowledged by persons owning, conducting, intending to conduct the business. Okay? The certificate shall be executed and duly acknowledged by the person. This is by you. So it needs to be acknowledged. The selling of goods by sample or through traveling agent or traveling salesperson or by means of orders forwarded by purchase through the mails shall not be construed for the purpose of this act as conducting or transacting business so as to require the filing of the certificate. Okay, so ship through the mail doesn't require this. The county clerk shall certify the duplicate and return it to the applicant. As used in this act. What is a person? Well, person means one or more individuals, partnership, trust, fiduciaries, or other entities capable of contracting except corporations and limited partnerships. So this is not for a person. They're not talking about a corporation. They're not talking about a limited partnership, right? It's an individual. Address means the residence or principal business address of the person. So you got two persons, actually. You got a legal person, your all cap letter name, and a natural person, your upper lowercase name. A charter county with a population over 2 million, okay, they can charge a little more if you've got more than 2 million people, all right? Certificate of use of assumed name authorized for 5 years. Imagine that. You have to renew this every 5 years. Renewal, certificates, filing form, okay? The certificate, when acknowledged and filed as required in Section 1, authorized use of the assumed name for 5 years, right? So your assumed name, name of your business is your all cap letter name. That's an assumed name. And down here, you're going to put your natural person name. All right, so here's the name of the business and the address of the business, and I think this is just the road name and road number. Mailing address if different. Okay. Now this may be the entire address because that's a mailing address, but if it isn't, I don't know that you need to do that. Because down here you're going to say that, for myself, I'm in Oakfield Township, and this goes back to looking for domicile in the townships. What you're doing is you're telling the county that you're alive, that you're the owner of this property, and that you're domiciled in the township, and it says, so the township of, and that's where the county would go, here. But it doesn't have anything to do with the state, right? It doesn't say anything about the state. Nature of business. Jeepers. Well, what would it be? A banker? No. Other. All right, what is the nature of your business? Legal person. Is that the nature of a business? Yeah, we can always ask the clerk. And then down here, you would put your information. Signatures. All right, here's where you're going to acknowledge it before a notary. Okay. So, very simple to do so far. Let's see what else we can find out. Okay. If before the expiration date, a renewal certificate on forms to be provided by the county clerk, right? These things come from the county clerk. Is filed with the clerk and a fee of $4 paid, the renewal certificate shall extend the rate of use of the assumed name for additional 5-year period. See, in Michigan, if you're not seen in 5 years, you're presumed dead. This is how they're doing it.
Okay, we're back. We got what's called a DBA. You do the same thing with DBA. Down here in Florida, we just go online and do up your DBA, fictitious name registration form. And you can do it right online, and you keep it for so long, then it expires, and you simply renew it anytime you anytime that I would go into a courtroom. If I ever went in there, I just put that DBA on the table along with every other document I got, so they always know that they're dealing with a man, and they're dealing with the dead. Okay, want to bring that out. So let's take a look at this general wealth thing here, this generational wealth. Let's get a breakdown of wealth first. Let's do that first. Okay.
Stop living above your means, which means you spend more than you earn. Stop living even within your means, again, which means you spend everything that you earn. And live below your means and invest the rest. Let me say that again. Stop living above your means, which means you're spending more than you earn. Stop living within your means, which means you're spending everything you earn. And live below your means and invest the rest.
The Tall Boy Experience.
Hi, this is Dr. George Fraser. Would you like the experience that Tall Boy is about to give you? Well, stay tuned. I'm 74 years old, and 25 years ago I wrote a book called Success Runs in Our Race, The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the African American Community. It is a modern-day classic. It is required reading in 57 historically black colleges. If you have not read that book, you probably should read that book. But it was in that book that started the networking conversation, or the relationship capital conversation in black America, and ultimately started the networking movement. I'm considered to be sort of the guru of networking in black America, and absolutely I believe in, have been teaching, preaching, and evangelizing and writing about that subject matter for a quarter of a century. And there is intellectual capital, there's human capital, and there's relationship capital. Let me say that a different way. 15% of your success in life will be based on your skills, but 85% of your success will be based on your interpersonal and people skills that ultimately result in the relationship capital that you bring to the table of life to do whatever work that God has assigned you to do, because it takes teamwork to make the dream work. So as you grow older and wiser, you will understand that your EQ, your emotional intelligence, which is fundamentally your ability to build relationship capital, will be more important than your IQ. Your EQ will be more important than your IQ. There are several iterations that I use to help our people understand why wealth is important. Wealth is important because your wealth will determine where you live. Where you live will determine where your children go to school. Where your children go to school will determine the quality of your children's higher education, and that will determine your children's lifelong earnings. And your children's lifelong earnings will determine where your children live. And where your children live will determine where your grandchildren go to school. And where your grandchildren go to school will determine the quality of your grandchildren's higher education, and that will determine their lifelong earnings. So there's a cycle of poverty here that we have to break in understanding why wealth is important. Why is wealth important? Because in a market-based economy, in a democratic capitalist society, the only color that really matters in this country is green. Put $1 billion next to your name and see how much racism matters. Now, it will matter to some degree, but to a much lesser degree. So, wealth is important, and ownership is important. The 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth, which is in Proverbs 13:22, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And unless we understand that as a black people, because we are a consumption class of people, white people are a merchant class, they make stuff, we buy stuff. Unless we come to grips with the 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth and not be the first generation of African in America to raise another generation that will not do better than them, baby boomers in this time, we will head into a second slavery. So we really need to get our act together. The first pillar is the proper management of accumulated wealth. The second pillar is real estate. The third pillar is business ownership. And the fourth pillar is proper insurance, because 60% of all wealth is transferred through tactical and strategic placement of proper insurance. And we don't have a clue about proper insurance. We don't have a clue about the proper management of accumulated wealth. This is why an athlete today can earn $100 million in their career, and within 5 years of retirement, they're either broke or in bankruptcy. That is the improper management of accumulated wealth. We don't understand the power and importance of real estate. We have been here since the Mayflower, and we own the fewest number of homes per capita of any cultural group in this country. We must fix that. And the need for business ownership, because you can't transfer a job to your children, just as you can't transfer a rent payment to your children. You can transfer a home, but you can't transfer a rent payment, or you shouldn't transfer a rent payment. And we want to be able to transfer businesses and develop equity and ownership. So those are the 4 pillars, and this is the kind of thing that I've joined in this fight with John Hope Bryant in bringing our people to a level of financial education and financial literacy so that we are not headed into a second slavery according to all the statistics and all the predictions. Robert Smith, who just paid off the student loans for 400 Morehouse grads, did one of the most innovative, one of the most important gifting of a group of black people, I think, in the history of let's call it charity. Not only did he save them from a debt that could be as large as paying off a house with long-term interest, the aggregate amount of money that he saved those 400 young people was not only the $40 million that it took him to write the check to pay off those student loans, but the aggregated interest that it would have cost him, that it would have increased that debt over the time in which they paid it back from $40 million to $120 million, or 3 times what that debt was. I think that was groundbreaking. I think he has set the standards by which future gifting will be judged. I think he has changed 400 lives in a very significant way. I hope these young people will pay it forward. I hope they will take their savings and manage that money in such a way that it gives them a head start on financial growth and financial wellness long into their lives. And my hat goes off to him. Kudos to Robert Smith for such an incredible idea and an incredible way of gifting. The one tip I would like to leave as it relates to financial education and financial literacy is stop living above your means, which means you spend more than you earn. Stop living even within your means, again, which means you spend everything that you earn. And live below your means and invest the rest. Let me say that again. Stop living above your means, which means you're spending more than you earn. Stop living within your means, which means you're spending everything you earn. And live below your means and invest the rest, right? If you cannot pay yourself first, off the top, save monthly at least 10 to 15% of your earnings that goes back to you that you can invest for equity and ownership. You are living above your means. You need to ratchet down your spending, right? And make sure that you can tithe to you first so that you can have seeds for a greater harvest in the future. I require that you read Success Runs in Our Race, The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the African American Community by Dr. George Fraser, or an interesting book to read going into the 21st century is my book, Race for Success, The 10 Best Business Opportunities for Blacks in America. The way to make a profit and to make a difference, the way to do well while doing good. And I recommend that you join us at the Power Networking Conference June 26th through the 29th in Houston, Texas. My featured guest at the Power Networking Conference is Damon John from Shark Tank. And we talk about 2 subjects at the Power Networking Conference, business and money. Business and money, because that's the only 2 things we ought to be talking about as black people in the 21st century.
Did you like the video? That's right. Did you like it? Hit that.
All right. We back now. There you have it. Dr. George Fraser, and we got Simone him dealing with this generational wealth thing here now. And but before we go further, last week, day before yesterday, I was talking about trust. And I want to lay out something that most of us are familiar with, organizational steps for forming a corporation, limited liability company. Most people just say LLC, and limited partnership. It states here, and I'm coming to you from the book that I told you about in the beginning, Own Your Own Corporation. Now keep in mind, what I'm about to talk to you about right now, I'm coming straight out of the book. I'm right here in chapter 5 of this book. Once you get this form, you put it in your trust. You follow me? Don't just run out, I got an LLC, man. Put the trust in put the LLC in your trust. Okay? Here we go. The first step in organizing a corporation is to prepare the articles of incorporation for filing with the Secretary of State. While each state has its own rules and requirements, again, see appendix, there are common requirements. Okay? Number 1, corporate name. Select a name that you can grow with and then check with the Secretary of State and Trademark Office, if appropriate, on the name availability. Okay, that's number 1. Purpose and powers. Nevada and certain other jurisdictions allow the article to state that the purpose of the corporation is to engage in any lawful activity for which a corporation may be organized. Others, such as Massachusetts, require that at least one specific purpose be stated in the Articles of Incorporation. Board of Directors. Some states require that the name and addresses of the initial board of directors be listed. Authorized capital. Your total number of shares the corporation is authorized to issue, the rights and preferences of each class, and the par value of the shares need to be included. Duration, because most states allow a corporation to continue indefinitely, the Articles of Incorporation will permit a perpetual duration. Bylaws. The bylaws of the corporation are the rules for the conduct of business affairs. While each version is different, they generally contain the following common provisions. Meeting of directors. The bylaws will set out what kind of notice requirements are needed to call meetings and the minimum number of annual meetings that are required. Meeting shareholders. The date for the annual meeting will be fixed along with requirements for calling specific meetings. Officers and directors. The responsibility of each officer and the directors will be set out in the bylaws, as will be the procedures for removing them. Then we go to records and reports. Procedures for inspection of the books by shareholders, as may be required, shall be set out in the bylaws. Name and address of resident agent. States require that a resident agent be designated. The real purpose of the resident agent is to receive the service of summons and complaints. A lawsuit in the state, so do not have someone serve as your resident agent who will not fully appreciate the importance of being sued and the need to answer a complaint promptly. Okay, now I'm going to stop right there. And this is the ingredients of setting up a LLC. Probably if you're going to do a real LLC. But remember one thing, all of the stuff that's laid out in this right here goes into the LLC. Then you take the entire LLC and you set it up in the trust. Okay? You got it? All right. Okay. Hold on a minute. We'll be right back.
it is against the law for the bank to loan out depositors' money to you, how could the bank give you a loan? And if that's the case, how are they able to keep their doors open? And in some cities, they have the biggest buildings in town. What happens to the person who deposits money in the bank? What do they receive outside of nickels and dimes in the form of what's called interest? How can you get paid? Go to TarhakaDebtElimination.org. That's TarhakaDebtElimination.org. Fill out the Contact Us form, and I'll rush you my free report. Let's get down to the bottom of this situation. Let me show you how what's going on in how to deal with it. Okay, TarhakaDebtElimination.org. Peace, y'all. Well, welcome everyone back to Student Dream TV. I am your host, Nina Uguomo, and here at Student Dream TV, we are sharing money, investing, and startup tips for the Black collegian. We believe that wealth and building generational wealth is the key to our success for our community. And so with all of the things taking place in the world around us today, a lot of you are in need of financial advice and of guidance, but a lot of you don't have access to that. So what I've taken the liberty to do is bring together some of the leading professionals, investors, entrepreneurs, and leaders around the world and the country to gather here and give you some advice so that you can succeed moving forward. And today I'm very excited to welcome an incredibly special guest. We've spoken for about 10 minutes right now, and already he's given me a lifetime's worth of wisdom. And so I want to take a moment to just introduce you to the Dr. George Fraser. And so Dr. Fraser has insisted for 40 years that there be no sizzle reel of his life's work and purpose until there was something to quantify and sizzle about. He was born in 1946. Let me say that again. He was born in 1945 in Brooklyn, New York, to a troubled family of 11 children. After serious mental health issues with his mom, at 2 years old, he and 6 of his siblings were orphaned, then put into toxic foster homes for a total of 16 years. He was not considered to be college material, so he was sent to a vocational high school and got a diploma in carpentry. The rest is history. Dr. Fraser has always believed it's not how you start, it's how you finish. That God has great plans for each of us. We must simply listen to his voice, follow directions, overcome the obstacles, and stay the course. Dr. Fraser's favorite line from super rapper Drake: started from the bottom, now we're here. So here is 75 years of life in 120 seconds. So thank you, Dr. Fraser, for taking the time. I mean, just looking at all those, I mean, your life's work in 120 seconds is is a life's work of mentoring and leadership lessons that we can take and immediately apply. But, you know, what do you have to say for that in terms of just what we watched?
I think that perhaps the goal of all woke, conscious, good, and righteous Black people ought to be that in the twilight of their years should have a sizzle reel that's about 120 seconds, 2 minutes, that's worth watching, that would make an impact, that makes a statement that you did God's work in your purpose for a greater good. As I like to say, it's not about me, it's about we. We work to make the dream work. That you're not going to get there on your own by yourself in a vacuum. You're going to do it with and through other people. And I thank God, if you are righteous thinking African in the diaspora, that you will choose to do your work with and through other people that look like you. That's first. I wrote a book 25 years ago called Success Runs in Our Race, The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the African American Community. And in that book, I begged black people, not only race and culture first. Other cultures and races, and there are only 3 races in the world, you do know that. There is the black race, white race, and Asian race. Black race is the 2nd largest race in the world. The largest race in the world is Asian, 4.4 billion. Black is 1.6 billion. And whites are the smallest in numbers, about 1 billion, spread out across the world. But they control over $400 trillion of global wealth. White people or Europeans or Caucasians control the most significant amount and percentage of that wealth. There's lots of reasons for it. And white people did everything they needed to do to survive. They understood the concept of survival of the fittest. They did whatever it took to survive, whether it was enslaving another whole race of people, whether it was colonizing an entire country, or continent, I should say, whether it was shooting you, killing you, maybe, whatever it was, that's what they felt they had to do to survive. So it's not about us forgiving them, as an African sister said in a wonderful video I posted on my Facebook page. It is really about us going inward and understanding that we, as black people, did not do what we needed to do to survive. That, as Malcolm X said many, many years ago, we were tricked and bamboozled by white people. All right. Therefore, after 500 years, that African people have given the Western world everything they have, we are still at the bottom. They have everything and we have nothing. 500 years later. And no matter where I travel in the Pan-African diaspora, whether it is Seattle or Miami, whether it is San Diego or Maine, whether it's Los Angeles or New York, whether it is Rio or Bahia in South America, whether it is the Bahamas or Jamaica, whether it is South Africa, Cape Town, or Cairo, Egypt, whether it is Ghana or Kenya, black people are at the bottom of every single economic statistic wherever they are. 500 years later. We were tricked and bamboozled. We believed and gave into and bought into the lies and deception of white people doing whatever they needed to do. That must change in the 21st and 22nd century.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. And that's why we're here. And that's why... Yes, go ahead.
I don't want our brothers and sisters thinking it's about hating white people. You don't have to hate anybody to love yourself.
That's good.
See?
Yes, sir.
So I love me. In fact, there's a problem that we have across our race. Because when I get up in the morning and I look in the mirror and I do not love what I see, Nina, there is no way that I can love you. Because when I look, you become a reflection of me. That's called low self-esteem. Low self-esteem drives low race esteem. That's what we suffer. The lack of trust and love and respect, of working with and through each other, connecting the dots, leveraging more effectively our collective resources and intellectual capital. Right? Survival of the fittest is not necessarily a singular competitive thing. that I am stronger than you, and therefore I can dominate you, right? I can take what you have, right? That's not necessarily what survival of the fittest is. Survival of the fittest can also mean that those groups and communities that work best together win. The football team that works best together wins the Super Bowl.
Right.
The NBA team that works best together wins the NBA championship. It's not one player on the NBA team. Sure, they all have stars, but it's a team sport. Building a community, building a culture, building a race is a team sport. And who are you competing with? You are competing with other races who are doing whatever they need to do to survive, including putting their foot on your neck if they have to, including enslaving you so that you will do the hard work necessary that they're not capable of doing or don't want to do, but you do it, and create economies, whether it's in America or in Cuba, where the Spaniards for 400 years colonized Cuba and used them to do the grunt work to cut down the sugar cane where they had a sugar economy and then sweet. So we have to man up and woman up. That's the future for us. That's your generations. Have to man up and woman up and do whatever it takes, but in a good and righteous way to survive. And we cannot be any longer tricked and bamboozled by the sinister traps that we have fallen for, heaped on us in a Eurocentric world and mindset. We are different people. That is fundamentally what makes us different than white people. There's Eurocentric thinking and African-centric thinking. And we believe in the oneness of all things and collective work and responsibility. It's all in Kwanzaa. It's all in the Egyptian art, right? So we trust that you will do what you say and that you are honorable. Well, we were wrong. So it's up to us to fix that. Let me say that another way. No one is saving us, Dina, but us. White people will not be saving black people. It's been 500 years and we're not saved.
Right. It has been a few couple of centuries.
Until black people put black people first, black people will always be last. So for 500 years, we've been last. That is not true thousands of years ago. 7,000 before Christ, 3,000 years before Christ. You go to Cairo, Egypt, which is in Africa, by the way, and it was Africans 7,000 years before Christ. It wasn't Arabs. We were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in caves, eating each other. White America did not come and pull Africans out of trees eating bananas. That's bullshit. We civilized the world. We were building pyramids when they were living in caves. So we were tricked and bamboozled.
Wow.
You hear that kind of stories and those kinds of lies for 500 years.
Woo. 500.
Right?
Yeah.
It sort of jacks you up.
Yeah.
So now we understand. And it's up to us to do the work. Let me say that a different way. So this is the challenge for your generations. We are all drinking from wells that we did not dig. That we are standing on the shoulders of giants. And if in fact that is true, Nina, The question that we have to ask ourselves, are we worthy of that legacy?
Wow.
254-year legacy of our fight for freedom, 1619 to 1864. Are we worthy of that legacy? And the books and the movies that are still being made about the 12 to 13 generations that died for our freedom. Are we worthy of that legacy?
Wow.
Are we worthy of the legacy of civil rights, voting rights, and public access from 1864 to 1964, and the 5 generations that it took to achieve that? 1964, the Civil Rights Laws were signed, then the Voting Rights Act, then Fair Housing Act,
Right.
overcoming Jim Crow and black codes. 5 generations worked on that. The baby boomers are the last generation to have worked on that.
Wow.
Because those are the legacies we must ask ourselves, are we worthy of? So if in fact we believe that we're worthy of that legacy, the next question, Nina, for your generation is, what will your legacy be? What will the legacy of Generation X, Y, Z, and Generation Alpha, the children of the millennials, what will their legacy be? It can't be civil rights, voting rights, and public access. You weren't even around. It damn sure isn't a fight for freedom, right? We weren't even around. My generation wasn't even around. So what will be the legacy of those 4 to 5 generations of young people that we are preparing to pass the baton? That's what you young folks need to be thinking about. What will be your legacy? If you put together a sizzle reel on those 4 generations, what would that 120 seconds look like?
Wow.
Now, that is the ultimate question that your generations are going to have to answer. There are a couple of things I like about the younger generations. You are unapologetically black. I love that. Unapologetically black.
You don't think we saw that in previous generations?
We were not unapologetically black, darling. Even as baby boomers, we were trying to be white. Are you kidding me? And it was only a simple reason we were trying to be white. For survival. So we were acting like white people, we were speaking like white people, we were dressing like white people, we were imitating the core values of white people. It was a survival thing. Y'all don't buy that. You're unapologetic. Yeah, I love that about you. But I don't know if that's a legacy. I love Black Lives Matter. Powerful movement. That'll be some part of your legacy. But I don't think that can't be the whole thing. And it can't be rap music. Right? Now, there is some incredible, evolved rappers and rap music. Kendrick Lamar, the only rapper to win the Pulitzer Prize. So there's some really good stuff coming out of young minds around the poetry of our lives and the storytelling of our lives. But there's a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah.
A young person asked me at a talk that I gave at FAMU, Dr. Fraser, what happened to black people? And I said to them, I'm going to say this and still be loved. We changed when our music changed.
Wow.
You know how important music is to us? From the days of slavery. You know, it's how we communicate with each other. You know how important rhythm is to us? That's just a part of our inner being. So when you start calling yourselves niggas, bitches, and hoes, you put that to an infectious beat, and you put your headphones on, and you pump that shit into your brains for 5 hours a day.
Wow.
Tell me what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said about black people listening to that crap. That you cannot call yourselves niggas, bitches, and hoes and expect to ever amount to anything. In fact, if you understand, we are the only race on the planet that does it. The only ones. So we have been reduced in many ways psychologically, because we went through a psychological holocaust second to none in the history of humankind. We have been reduced to calling ourselves niggas, bitches, and hoes, disrespecting our women, disrespecting our being, disrespecting ourselves. No other race does that but us. So don't tell me we're not still out of our natural minds. We are ill people, not all black people, just most black people.
Wow.
That's why we are at the bottom of every single economic statistic that matters, certainly in this country. Has there been progress? Hell to the yes. Have we developed millionaires? Yes, we have. Do we have some black folk doing good stuff? Absolutely. But it's not enough. Let me say that differently. We have every single thing we need to succeed, Nina, except each other.
All right, we're back, everybody. Dr. George Fraser. And it is. The man laid it out for you. We can't deny it. And what I would like, if the man has told a lie, and the number to dial in is 563-999-3443, and let me know, make sure that you got an alternative truth to what the man just said. Okay, don't call in here telling me, well, you know, I think, no. Give me the facts. Give me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Okay. Commercial break. Be right back.
Let me make sure I got this one right also. Someone tells you that you must pay them money about your children in the form of child support. They also say they would suspend your driver's license. And they said they would garnish your wages. Who were they talking to? A debtor? Or did they make the mistake and say it to a creditor? When you got married, they say they was a part of that also. Request my free report at tarhakadebtelimination.org. That's tarhakadebtelimination.org. Let's have some fun. If you'd like to contact us for my free report, and I'll rush it straight to your email box. What about this banking stuff? What's going on in the United States? I tell you what, request my free report at tarhakadebtelimination.org. Peace.
Okay, we're back. Now, let me say a few things about this networking stuff. And Brother Islam, he touched on it earlier. He said he went to the brothers in the Caribbean. He went to Canada, different places. And these are the people that he is actually physically networking with. Okay. Because it seems to me today, when you use the term networking, it's a bunch of people on a Zoom call talking about a whole lot of stuff. And what I'm talking about some real networking. Like what we do here, down here we grow our own food and stuff. And every year I set it up where I grow certain plants and stuff, and we were able to either have the brothers come by here and pick it up, and I take it home and plant it in their garden, or either I'll take it and deliver it to them. And it's a network system that we have here, actually physically growing our own food and contributing to nutrition. To me, that is a very, very powerful way of networking. And I'm not saying that the brothers and sisters that's doing the conference calls and the Zoom calls and stuff, that you're not making progress. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying go ahead and take this thing to another level get out there on the ground and do some bare knuckle things and actually deal with people. I got a brother in Alaska, a brother in the Carolinas. They swapping goods. He's sending fish out of Alaska, and he sending vegetables and fruits and stuff up to Alaska and stuff. And because I deal with people all over the United States and different parts of the world as well. So as a trustee for our trust, which I am, I can only do what my duties are in the trust. And so this is the point that I want to lay out to you. We're going to get back in here and listen to some more George Fraser because we're still talking about this generational wealth. I'm going to have to come back with part 2 of this thing because I can't cover everything. So let's go straight on in and deal with part 2. George Fraser.
You just can't talk about it. You have to
right.
be. And then you have to model the behavior to succeeding generations. This is the importance of eldership. In fact, young people, certainly Generation Y, Z, and Generation Alpha, don't really even honor or understand the concept of elders. They call them just old people. Right? So that's why when I speak today, I frame myself as an elder. There is no or little respect for elders.
Right.
And there is a huge gap between elders and succeeding generations. That gap needs to be closed. And our young people ought to be developing meetings and town hall panels that simply say a gathering of the elders, where young people talk to elders and vice versa.
Wow.
Old people ain't even thinking about meeting with old people.
Wow.
Right? Not at all.
Great, Dr. Fraser. And so, may I ask a question?
Sure.
So you mentioned a few things that I have a number of questions on, but I'll focus it in on 2. The first is you mentioned the need to be intellectually curious and to read consistently after you graduate college. I think about some of the writers who I admire and just hearing their stories on how they prepare for books and to write books.
What writers do you admire?
Wow.
You think
wow. I admire Timothy Keller is one writer. He's a Christian writer, a deep thinker. He's produced a lot of relevant work that helps me as a person who's in the city and navigating faith in the city. That's really assisted me. I also admire Juliet K. Walker. She, wrote
Juliet K. Walker. I had her at the Power Network.
Yes.
I contributed to her Encyclopedia of Black Business. Black Business Ethics.
Wow. So I have 2 of her books, The History of Black Business in America and Free Frank, and for me it was just valuable, again, to know our history. And
Free Frank McWhorter.
Exactly. So learning about things such as slave entrepreneurship, that history, just that small piece of history, of recent history, just inspired me to say, I have no excuse. Right? If people were starting businesses as slaves, I have no excuse, and that is what I owe, the legacy of those who fought for freedom here in America. And then another author who I really admire, his name is Alexander Osterwalder. He writes a lot of business books about business model design. And so that really helps me to, again, understand systems, and that you don't just need to have a value proposition, but you have to have an entire system that will allow you to create that value proposition, monetize that value proposition, and sustain it. So those are some of the 3, a lot of business-related books and faith-related books. I've just recently gotten back into reading fiction. So right now I'm reading Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, just to keep that creativity flowing. But lately my focus really has been on both faith and business. So a lot of my reading is focused on that.
Are you reading any historical text, let's say by James Baldwin?
I haven't. So I've downloaded. Tell me what's on the mountaintop. Take me. I've downloaded a few of James Baldwin's books. Go Tell It on the Mountaintop being one of them, but I haven't.
Go Tell It on the Mountain.
Yeah, Go Tell It on the Mountain. But I've started it, but I haven't finished it. So, but it's in the queue.
Have you read any books on our ancient history?
So I've recently.
Anthony Browder, for example.
I haven't. I've gotten some of Dr. Henry Gates.
You know who Anthony Browder is?
Anthony Browder. No, I do not know who Anthony Browder is.
Write his name down.
Yes.
And read the Browder Files.
The Browder Files.
He is our foremost Egyptologist. And I've taken several groups to Africa to Egypt with Anthony Browder. You need to know something about him. So he has a very easy read on our ancient history. You need to know that.
Okay.
Right?
What do you think of Henry Gates? His work? Henry Louis Gates? Dr. Henry Louis Gates?
Henry's is good.
Okay.
But you need to know Henry deals more with modern black history. Now, modern black history is about 400 years.
Right.
But if you saw the history of black people spread out on a chart by years and dynasties,
wow,
you will see that 400 years is like a grain of sand.
Right.
Compared to our entire history. It's just a bump in the road. Right? The history beyond that is far beyond your imagination. Right? So all you really know is about a very tiny little, very bad period.
Wow.
For black people. 400 years. But there's 8,000 years. Remember, we're the first human beings. So there's 8,000 years, Nina, that you don't have a clue about.
Wow. Wow.
So what you really know about you is nothing. You know nothing.
Wow.
You have no clue on who you really are. Now, don't tell me that that does not impact, once you do know who you are, that will not impact how you see yourself, your self-confidence, your personal pride, and your personal esteem. Once you know your lineage, your DNA, what you're capable of, that puts your life in a whole different perspective. But most of our young people, your age, ain't got a clue. They just think it's some old bullshit.
Wow.
If I were to ask 1,000 college students, and I have done this, who is Sheikh Anta Diop? There would be nobody that raised their hand. They have no clue who this man is. Who is Chancellor Williams? They know who Frederick Douglass is. Who is Akhenaten? See, these are just probably, you have no clue who Akhenaten is. And you're a black woman. And you have no clue. Akhenaten was one of the great early pharaohs of ancient Egypt. When you see his picture, it's up in the Cairo Museum. He has a big, thick lips and a big nose. Absolute black characteristics. He's the first person on earth that said there is only one God. He's the first person on earth. There were, around the world at that time, people had many different gods. He said, oh no, there's only one. He was married to Nefertiti. Have you heard of Nefertiti?
Yes, I've heard of Nefertiti.
You know who Akhenaten and Nefertiti's child was?
Can't name it off the top.
You don't know. King Tut. Tutankhamun. Probably one of the most famous but useless pharaohs in history. He did really nothing. But Akhenaten created the concept for the world of a single God. Right? And I could go on and on and on and on and on. But we have no clues of that. Right? So, and your generation have no clues of what Africans contributed to humankind. The first written language. We were into math and science before, as I said, when white people were in caves. You cannot build the pyramids of Giza that are still standing to this day without being geniuses in geometry, math, and science, and engineering. We were doing that 3,000 and 4,000 years before Christ. Black people. But most black people don't have a clue, and they're not intellectually curious enough to even want to know. That's the real rub. They don't even want to know. That is what I call being dense.
Wow.
Read. The average American, it's not just a black problem, it's an American problem. The average American reads one book a year. If you read one book a month, in 5 years you will have read 60 books, and the average American will have only read 5.
Wow.
Yeah. I read 100 books a year. I have a high school diploma in carpentry. I do not have a college degree.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying don't get a college degree. I'm just saying, unless you're intellectually curious and you can become a critical thinker, it won't matter. You will be mediocre at best in life.
Wow. And how do you select the books that you read? How do you select the books that you read? Is it just based on what you're curious on at the moment?
Well, let's see. Yeah, this is what I'm reading right now. You can't
Life
read.
After Google. Yes.
Then what does it say?
The fall of big data and the rise of the blockchain economy.
That's what I'm reading right now. That's the future.
Yes.
Fall of Google. This is written by George Gilder. So you won't know who George Gilder is. Just Google him after we finish.
Yes, sir.
Futurist. One of the world's greatest futurists. Right? So there is unlimited choices of books. Unlimited. There are more choices than you'll ever have time to read.
Right.
But whatever you're interested in.
Focus.
Now, and again, I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to your audience.
Yes.
Right? So when you start reading, what you're going to find is you're going to find yourself around a bunch of readers. That's what you're going to find. There are actually black reading clubs. Except most people, young black brothers and sisters, don't even know that they exist. Because they ain't interested in reading. They're glued to social media. Now, there's nothing wrong with social media that you can't solve. Just like there's nothing wrong with television that if you ingest it in controlled and strategic ways. There's good information on your phone, and there's good information on television, and there's good information in the movies. There's a lot of instructive stuff out here.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to pick and choose. And again, when I say you, I mean your audience.
Yes, I understand.
But this is going to be the key to upward mobility for black people in the 21st century, because we are now living in a global economy. Anybody living in an apartment or garage can do what you do.
Yes, sir, that's true.
The choice of options that employers have or businesses have is unlimited. And so if I choose to pay you $10 an hour or $15 an hour, is because I've decided that that's all you're worth. And if you don't like it because you think you're worth more, then leave. Because the line to get that job for that amount per hour is around the block.
That's true.
So excellence bordering on exceptionalism has to be our standard. When you're excellent at what you do, you will never have to worry about competition. You'll never have to get in anybody's line. People will get in line for you. It is when you are mediocre to average, that's when you have to worry about competition. Right?
Yes.
I don't ever worry about competition because I'm exceptional. I say it with humility in what I do. So at 75 years old, I have never, ever had to look for a job. Because every job I had, from mopping floors on the midnight shift at LaGuardia Airport for 3 years, if you go to LaGuardia Airport, go down into the maintenance department, there's a plaque on the wall, it's me. I was the best floor mopper in the history of LaGuardia Airport. What do I know? How you do anything is how you do everything. So, that's my fourth piece of advice to the young brothers and sisters out there. Be awesome at what you do, and you will never have to worry.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Frazier.
When Google goes to the campus to recruit, or Microsoft goes to the campus to recruit, or Apple goes to the campus to recruit, or Procter & Gamble goes to the campus. I was, of course, in leadership, a leadership position for 13 years with Procter & Gamble, which means I had recruiting responsibility. And I requested to recruit historically black colleges. I didn't want to recruit in local white colleges. I wanted to give brothers and sisters an opportunity to get into that company. But we were very, very selective.
Right.
And the line was very short. Same thing with Google, same thing with Apple, same thing with Microsoft. You think you could be mediocre or average or graduate from your college with a C, a grade average, and get a job at Google? Hell to the no. Do you know what percentage of cultural minorities are employed at Google? You know the numbers, right? The number, 2%. We're 14% of the American population. What's Google's reason? What's Apple's reason? What's Microsoft's reason? We ain't good enough. That's their reason. They have standards. If you want to work at Google, you've got to meet their standards. I gave a speech at USC last year. I was walking to the auditorium across the campus. It was 40% Asians. And I said to the dean, I said, what's up with this? There's Asians everywhere. He He says, we have an embargo on Asians right now because they're way above their percentage of population in the United States. But our challenge is they ace the SATs and they ace the ACTs. And we don't give them scholarships. They pay full rate with an aced SAT. So that's what we're competing with. You're competing with Asian people who are acing the SATs. So if you ain't acing the SATs, you're going to get a lesser school. And you might get in for affirmative action. But guess what? Affirmative action ain't going to keep you in that school. There are no affirmative action grades. So brothers and sisters, man up and woman up. You got it like that. You got the most awesome DNA in the history of humankind. We are God's first people. So do the right thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Frazier. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wow, this is great. Man, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, there's so much that our viewers are going to take from this.
Now, you were recording that?
Yeah, it was all recorded, yes.
Okay, because I didn't see, so normally I see a little red recording thing up there.
Yes, it's recording.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
maybe it's in the cloud, so maybe that's maybe just because I see it on my end.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to repeat it. I was just no notes, just going from my heart.
No, I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with the students. I think it'll really be a stimulus of wake up.
You may make it 2 parts because it was long. An hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes.
Probably an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah. Now I know I was a bit philosophical, a bit straight no chaser, but I just think they need to hear that.
Yes, they do. They do. I think people have gotten taking it too easy on them.
Yeah.
Honestly.
They ain't hearing it at home, and they're not hearing it in school.
Man. No, I totally agree. And I am, especially when I think about the way that our community gets so excited around sports, and you understand that we're not going to take this lightly in terms of your work ethic, so why would we not go just as hard, just as diligently in other areas? Your coach will not be like, oh, yeah, that's all right. No, what are you doing? Right? So thank you, Dr. Frazier. And if you ever need help with engaging young audiences around wealth creation, you know, I am here to help. My hand is raised.
Right. Now, if you have something, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to make an offer to these young kids for the Power Network Conference. But you can offer them.
Yes.
So a student registration is $800. Student meaning 17 to 25. So I'll give it to them for $199.
Okay.
Now most of them are not going to be able to make it. They're students. They don't have the money to, you know. But it's in Houston, and they can go on Power Networking. They can't get that offer on my website.
Okay.
But they can get it straight through me.
Okay.
I don't know when you're going to run this, but they want that offer at $199 for us. They got to be a student, 17 to 25. They email me, gfraser@frasernet.com.
All right.
Say in the subject line, I'm in.
I love it.
Their name and their cell phone number. I'll call them personally.
Wow.
Write it up as a student. You got to be 17 to 20. We're not talking about grown folk. We're talking about
right. Right. Absolutely. 17 to 25. Name and cell phone. In the subject line, I'm in.
Okay.
Email you directly.
That's on behalf of Dr. Frazier.
Thank you, Dr. Frazier.
I hope I got in much, or if not most, of what you wanted.
Yes, you did. You did. You absolutely did. In such a unique way. Absolutely. And it was through personal story. It was very sufficient. So thank you.
Good.
All right, everybody, we're back. That was Dr. George Frazier, and that's all we have on the generational wealth. Let's recap. First of all, pay yourself first. Don't live above your means. Don't live within the means, and do not live below your means. Okay. And of course, you know the rest. We dealt with your corporations, your companies, your assets, and sticking that in the trust, and of course your beneficiaries in your trust, and you simply pass the wealth on from one generation to the next. And everybody's in your trust, or in your family, or in your corporation, you just simply duplicate the same thing. Everybody got to be on one accord, and that is how you build generational wealth. Keep the wealth in the family among your people. Okay, you create your declaration of trust, or create your articles of incorporation if you're going to do that. You got your C corporation, your S corporation, your LLC. You got your ecclesiastical trust, your irrevocable common law trust, your revocable common law trust. You've got all types of trust that you can build. You can even put one trust into another trust. Keep your mouth shut and just keep on going and pass it on from generation to generation. That's what they do to you, right? Okay. All right. So we got 27 minutes on the clock. I'm going to take another commercial break. If anybody got any questions, press 1 on your phone, and I open up the phone line so you can be.
Okay, everybody. October the 26th, right here in Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida, the Black Vegan Fest will take place. Live bands, live entertainment, professional chefs will teach you how to cook healthy. If you are a vendor, go to www.urbangeoponics.org and sign up. Bring your fishing gear with you. If you're a fisherman, we got the river right in the back of the property. We'll teach you how to grow your own food, teach your children how to do the same thing. You'll learn how to prepare meals healthy. There'll be fun and games for the whole family. October the 26th, the Black Vegan Fest, right here in Jacksonville, Florida. Don't miss it. Make sure you got some cash with you, because vendors will be on hand and they'll be selling their wares. October the 26th, the Black Vegan Fest, right here, Jacksonville, Florida. Don't miss it. Be here.
Okay. All right. There you have it. We're going to have a grand old time. And once again, like I told you, the hurricane slammed into the west coast of Florida. But that was down midway. We're up north. The only thing we got was some wind and rain. And this time, I don't even know if we had any trees knocked over. Might have did, but it was minimal up here where we are. So therefore, October 26th is still on. I haven't gotten any words otherwise. So people will be here from all over the United States, and probably some from other parts of the world. But everybody will be down here, and live bands will be performing. We'll have fun and games for the children. We'll also teach them how to grow their own food. They'll be able to get their hands in the soil. And the parents will too, if you want to. Professional chefs will be showing you how to prepare healthy meals from the food you grow. Okay, so make sure you be here. We're going to have a good time. Leave your alcohol at home. We don't need all that. But come on down and get a chance to rub shoulders with your brothers and sisters down here. We're going to have a good old time. All right? Now, I'm going to run a little bit more of Rob Ryder down here. And let's see. Okay. Let's deal with some of this, these traffic tickets and stuff. Keep in mind, this guy's down here in Florida with me. And so we're going to run a little bit of that. We won't be able to run it all, and we will be coming back with some more of this in the future. But y'all hold on a minute.
Hey, this is Rob Ryder. Today is Sunday, July 5th, 2020. And we're going to be talking about traffic tickets in court, errors and omissions. Because there's errors and omissions on all traffic tickets, all court cases, and so forth. So if that's the case, then who do you tell, and what do you tell them?
Hold on, we got a caller with his hand raised.
Nice.
870, you on air. Tell me who you are, where you calling from, what's your question or comment?
Hey, Tarhaka, this is Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. Where you calling from, Jeff?
I'm calling from the dog park. Actually, I wanted to let you know we've been doing background checks on all the dogs, and I hate to be the one to tell you this, but your little rascal is a registered poodlephile, and we can't have him back in the dog park.
I appreciate you calling in, man. Let me get on back to what I'm doing. Oh, okay. Oh, man, that was something else. Come on, y'all, let's go.
Hey, this is Rob Ryder. Today is Sunday, July 5th, 2020. And we're going to be talking about traffic tickets in court, errors and omissions. Because there's errors and omissions on all traffic tickets, all court cases, and so forth. So if that's the case, then who do you tell, and what do you tell them? And a hint would be, well, for USC 101, United States Code 101, which is the law that says anybody who's going to claim authority in the United States and the state has to have taken this particular oath. I, Robert Allen Rutluski, do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States. Well, nobody's taken that, and I've done quite a few videos on that. So, well, what do we do with it? What's a practical use? Well, that's what we're going to try to figure out. Can we use this for something? And then what else do you give them? Well, what you can prove, which is it's on the paperwork that they give you. That, you know, just look at it and say, well, that's wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and so forth. And so I was trying this, or I'm trying this with a lady out in California. We look at her case and what it has done so far in a traffic case. And then naturalized persons. As it turned out, she was naturalized and she had sent her certificate. And I had known from previous videos that, you know, these things have errors on them. I need to talk about it again. I need to show this research that I've done in the past, just trying to bring it forward. And so that naturalized persons, or if you have a certificate of naturalization, you're lost beyond the sea. And with me, you and us are denied the status of citizens of the United States. Now mine happened differently. I'm not naturalized. I was born here. But in the very first Naturalization Act, which is in 1790, it says that the right of citizenship shall not descend to persons whose fathers have never been resident in the United States. Naturalization Act 1790. Well, if you go look at a certificate of live birth, there's no place on there where it has your father's residence. It has your mother's, well, they've got a particular name for it. Well, we'll be looking at it. A normal residence or something like that, right? And it has a place for it. But they don't have any place for your father's. And so these are all errors and omissions on all this paperwork. And, you know, we can't just sit by and let it go unchallenged. You have to challenge it. And that's what this is about. Well, who would you challenge these things to, and what would you use as your evidence or proof? Because they're not going to come tell us. We need to go, you know, we need to go claim our rights. So, if you want to email me, Rob Ryder's email is quoteofrecord@AOL.com, phone number 616-712-6179. And I do need your help to keep the lights on, pay the rent, buy groceries, those kind of things. You know, believe it or not, I put all my time into doing these videos and the research that goes into them. I have lots of information. In fact, I have the authority and the information. What I don't have is the power. I need the guys with the stars to buy in, and well, that's the power. I'm going to take care of it all. And if you didn't, a week ago I did a video that I was saying that President Trump, you know, his oath of office is wrong, and I was showing it in credits and everything, or in the video. Well, a couple days later, he posted in Twitter, right, the Lone Warrior, and that's all he put. And well, that's what he would be if he took the proper oath. He would be the commander-in-chief. And if the other people in the military haven't taken the oath that's in what Stat 23 or 4 USC 101, as they're shown in their prior videos, then they're not in the United States yet. Right? They can be. They're just not because they haven't taken this oath. It's been done on purpose, and no harm, no foul. Everybody go take the proper oaths, and let's move on. But until we do, we haven't satisfied the Johnson pillars of the law. And so we got to get the plank out of our own eye first and move forward. So now that we're doing that, now we can go point out to the Pharisees, that they got a few errors of their own they need to take care of. And the fact that Trump said that was, I think it's phenomenal. I hope he did it. I hope he went and took the oath that's in 1 Stat 23 and that he redid the oath that John Roberts gave to him incorrectly. Right? It's Roberts' fault. It's not Trump's. So, but anyway, hey, I do need your help. If you could write down that address, send me a check or a donation, or if you called me, well, no, you can't do that. You'd have to email me. If you emailed me and told me to send you an invoice for the amount that you would like to donate, I can send you an invoice through PayPal that you can use your credit card on. See how convenient they make that? Okay. So there's lots going on all over the world, and we're living in the end times for sure. And I just watched this video this morning. It was called President Trump Will Lead America Back to God, according to a 1983 prophecy. Somebody had linked it on Twitter. I think it was on WWG1, WGA. Where we go one, we go all. And President Trump will lead America back to God, according to the 1983 prophecy, and it's quite interesting. So you should go watch it after this one, if you haven't seen it yet. But let me finish first. All right, so give me just a second. I'll be right back. We'll get started. Okay, so, this isn't complicated. This is a traffic ticket from the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. All right, pay attention to that. It says it's a notice to appear, and it's got this number, which ends up being the citation number. You got the name, address, where you live, some particulars. Then you get to this code and section, and, well, it's some number with a VC, speed, and a, whatever the I is. What is it? Infraction. Right? It's not a misdemeanor. It's an infraction. It means it's a very low level violation. Okay, what she did, which was basically speeding, arrest. There's a reason I have it like this, so I can do this. Arresting or citing deputy, right? Looks like an initial and maybe F-R-O-S-T, Frost. Some badge number, apparently. It's got her address or her signature, excuse me. And that says Superior Court of San Diego County. Remember that. That'll be important. And then we have a date, but no time, no AM, PM. Doesn't say what you're going there for, right? It's been left blank. And, so, I can tell you, most people, when they get a ticket, they don't see these things because, they're a little bit too close to it. Or they don't know enough to look at it. So that's all I'm saying. All right, now take a deep breath, right? Because this is difficult. Go get your ticket. Start going through it line by line and see what's correct and what isn't. And make a note of it. See, like here, they didn't put her age. Well, they have a blank for it. Well, then this hasn't been filled out properly. You can't leave blanks on papers and on forms that have blanks. It's not official. So that's that's what I say. Apparently, they don't see it that way because they don't do it. But I'm going to make that the issue. You're not following the fucking law. And by the way, you didn't have to take this oath of office. It's at 4 USC 101, 4 United States Code 101. Then you don't have any authority. So let me look at that real quick. I'm only saying this again for people who have not watched any of my videos. I've been beating this to death for the last, going on a year. Right, that every member of the state legislature and every executive or judicial officer of a state shall, before he proceeds to execute the duties of his office, take the oath in the following form. To wit, I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. That oath has to be done that way on its own piece of paper, or they did not satisfy for USC 101. That's what a Staff Sergeant United States Army is. You didn't follow the procedure, go do it again. I don't care if you have another oath, or that your state constitution requires an oath. Here it is, and it looks like they did it. They still have to do this one. Right? And you just don't accept anything except that is the answer. Because you are correct, because that's what this just said, right? It didn't tell you to add it to the oath of the state constitution. It said, no, do this here before you do anything else, before you execute any duties of your office. Well, your governor hasn't done this, and neither has your attorney general or your secretary of state or your state treasurer or the frickin' state legislature or, you know, the judges. None of them have. Nobody has done this. They don't have any authority in the United States because they haven't executed this oath just the way it says. And, you know, you can start complaining immediately to everybody you can that's above them. And that's the idea. Well, let's figure out who we can complain to and say, look, they haven't done this. I'm going to make this the issue instead of arguing about what you said I did. I'm just going to say, well, you don't have any authority to do anything about it anyways. If you don't have the oath, you don't have any authority, sir. Right? Now I need to get somebody to enforce that for me. That's what I'm looking for. I have the law on my side. I need enforcement. Right? I have the authority. I have the information. What I need is the power. So anyways, that's what's on this ticket, right? Let's compare that to the notice that came later. Now, this is all happening during the coronavirus, right? So nobody's going to court. Everything's being done by mail. That can be. But as you'll see, you know, this was the ticket given to her by the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. And this is the invitation she's getting to the from the Superior Court of California, County of San Diego. Well, on the ticket, you'll just have to take my take my word on it for a minute. It says Superior Court of San Diego County. It doesn't say Superior Court of California, County of San Diego. Right? So right away, well, this is from the wrong court. You know, number one, what's wrong? Well, it's from the wrong court. And we go down farther. It says, well, her violation is VC 22350. Well, I can tell you right away that that's not a proper legal citation. Why? Well, I just know because I've looked at it enough, they never do it right. So that's not proper. Now go prove it. Right? Get the proof. But I'm telling you, it's not proper. Go find the proof of how they need to do it in your state and say they did use a proper legal citation. Which in California, I think they put VIC, Vehicle, maybe it's VEC, Vehicle Enforcement Code or something like that. This is a notice, so forth. So, okay, so she gets a ticket from somebody and gets an invitation from somebody else, but she didn't get an invitation from the place that gave her the ticket, which said go to the Superior Court of San Diego County, go to the Central Division at this address. But when you go to that address, this is the court that you find. So where's the court they're talking about? Right? Well, I'm thinking it's in the office of sheriff, which is probably in the courthouse. Because the sheriff runs his own gig, right? He's his own constitutional officer, and the sheriff has a court. And I've done a bit of research again on this because of the other things I'm doing and trying to notify the police and the sheriff that, look, all these imposters that are pretending to be public servants don't have this oath, so stop them from doing what they're doing. All right? That was in, if you just search my videos by upload date and start going backwards from this one, you'll get an idea real quick what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's, it's a messed up situation. So, the ticket and the invitation don't match, but she didn't go to the place she was told to go. She's not going to be there by that date and didn't show up, so, this court's going to say, well, you didn't show up. Even if she went to this court, she wouldn't be appearing at this court. This is the court she's been told to appear in. You see how deceitful that is? I mean, it's just as obvious as can be. Well, then who, right? So now who can you tell? And so anybody who's got any kind of court case to do a traffic ticket, you're going to have very, very similar problems, right? So it's easy enough to find out. There'll be a legal citation for every state. If you just say the name of your state, like Michigan, legal citation, Google it and read a little bit, you'll find out, well, hey, this is the way they're supposed to put statutes or codes or whatever it is for Michigan, and that's what we're talking about, is what's the proper citation for this alleged violation. Well, as it turns out, it's it's actually vehicle code, which is VEH, and then it should be 22-350. Right? No person shall drive a vehicle upon a highway at a speed greater than is reasonable or prudent, having due regard for weather, visibility, and traffic on the surface with the highway, or no event, speed, which endangers safety of persons or property. Like, this is a really, really general this is a too fast for conditions statute. Has nothing to do with saying, hey, you're going 75 and a 40, right? It's just too fast for conditions. I don't even know what they said they should do. Speed 50, was that 35? Was she doing 50 to 35? I don't know. Safe speed, radar. All I know is they're not doing anything with these numbers, right? The numbers didn't come into the definition. It's just too fast for freaking conditions. So had they put VEH 22-350, they would have properly cited the statute. Right, but they didn't do that. So this is in the California rules, right? It's format F citations. Rule 1.200, citations to cases and other authorities and all documents filed in the courts must be in a style established either by the California Style Manual or the Blue Book, Form Style System of Citations. At the option of the party filing the document, the same style must be used consistently throughout the document. So this is the case. They can use this one or this one, but I'm saying the one they used isn't correct, so I'm just going to say it is, because I went and looked at the one that they offered, which was, I have it in here. No, we'll get back to that. Anyways, it isn't VEH. They used, even this guy, he did the number first, then the letters. And this has got the letters first, and then the numbers. There's something fishy going on. So anyways, I said, well, I'm going to write this. Right, so using the information that came off of the notice to appear from the court, not the one from the sheriff, which I'm thinking about how we're going to do now, that we're going to go find the Superior Court of San Diego County. It's just the office of the sheriff, and somewhere in the courthouse is a building of the sheriff, and that's the freaking court for the sheriff. And go tell them that these other people are simulating a legal process and want to have them arrested. Right? This is doing deceitful acts. It's an FTC violation. Well, this is what we wrote. Magistrate, there has been a mistake. The alleged notice to appear from the San Diego County Sheriff's Department, that would be the ticket, is a simulated legal process under color of law and a violation of laws in their states. Now, why did I say that? Well, because they didn't use the proper legal citation. That's all it would take, right? They didn't properly cite the court the law that you violated, and so it just became color of law and a simulated legal process, even if everything else was right. Right? Now, there's other things wrong. It didn't have an age on it. In Michigan, they're supposed to put the last four of your Social Security number. Well, they don't do that. So they're really not identifying you because it doesn't have your Social Security number on it. This is just, business as usual in the United States, and why a lot of people are so upset. I'm as upset as Black Lives Matter with a lot of this shit, but I'm not going to go what they're doing, because I'm not blaming the government. I'm saying the government has been overtaken, infiltrated by persons who are pretending to be public officials or officers, and that somebody who had the proper oath of office could just go arrest them all, and all this shit could go away from the Congress on down. So we're going to start with, in this case, we'll start with traffic tickets and go up.
Okay, we'll start at the bottom. So your County of San Diego Court, so that's the other piece of paper, is in a foreign jurisdiction having no authority in San Diego County, California, United States, which is where the sheriff was. Right? These are two different jurisdictions. The violation, BCE 22350, charged by your court is not a proper legal citation of California law. Unless you filed for record the oath of office mandated by federal law for USC 101, I am not in your jurisdiction. I am not subject to answer to any charge in your private tribunal. I include a copy of this law for your review. If you have complied with federal law for USC 101, please provide me a certified copy of the filed oath of office for my review. If you have not complied with 4 USC 101, then I demand the County of San Diego stop harassing me and violating my civil liberties with false allegations that you immediately discharge case, please provide me documentary evidence of said discharge. Respectfully submitted, enclosed, put a copy for USC 101, a copy of the ticket, whatever paperwork they gave, had the ticket, had from the court and from the judge. And then, in this case, I didn't put it on there. You put it in anyways. It was, Christina put it in. It was, the format of citation, this right here, right? This comes right out of the California statutes. Rule 1.200, format of citations. If they didn't put it in the way these books say, then you can just say, well, it's not been put in right. So that's what we did, and this was all last week, and just on Friday, was it Friday? I think it was Friday. Maybe she got it Saturday. Maybe she got it, yeah, maybe it got to her on Saturday, just yesterday, and she sent it to me. We'll look at it right now, what their reply was, and see where it's going. Okay, so the first thing that happened is she was able to check by going to the Superior Court public portal and putting in her citation case number. That now it's Francis, Christina, and anytime they put a comma between your names, this is your legal person, not your natural person, your business. Christina doesn't have a middle name or second first name like my first name's Robert Allen. That's my given name, and I don't have a middle name. She don't have a second one. So, but if you go to contract with the federal government as a business, so I went to IRS, got an EIN in my name, Robert Allen, Radlewski, a business, sole proprietor. I showed a video from December 2017, I think it was, EIN and SSN in your name. And if you go watch that and decide to do it, just don't file the form, just go to the site and the IRS and do it there. Which was the intention in the first place. But once you do one, you can't go back and do it again, so I couldn't show it in the video. I ended up using the pay sites thing, and somebody went and paid for it, so I think I was supposed to pay for it. Just go there and get it. All that being said, after I did that, I wanted to file with Dun & Bradstreet, and they said, well, to get your Dun & Bradstreet number quicker, you need to tell them you're going to be contracted with the federal government. So, well, yeah, I'm going to do that. Check the box. Give me the EIN number, and then you had to go and register, or the DUNS number. And then you had to go register with the federal government. Well, when you do that, they put your name backwards. Mine's Radlewski, Robert Allen with them. But other places, it's Robert Allen Radlewski, as a business. So because your name doesn't have a comma in it. If they wanted to put your last name first, that's fine, but they didn't have to put a comma there, right? They decided to do that. But no, this has a different signification completely. It's nothing to do with what we're talking about now, but it's just one of those things you learn that, want to share the information. So it says a payment cannot be made in this case because it currently has an active case flag of commissioner correspondence. The case is ineligible for online transactions. Contact the court for further information. And it showed that she owed $238 and it had a subtotal of 0. Well, before...
All right, everybody, we come down to the close of the broadcast, and I hope you got something out of it. And until next time, I've been your host, Tarhaka Amana El Bay, and y'all have a good evening.
fire, flood, tornado, hurricane. The damage they can cause to your home is devastating. But there's another disaster that strikes when you least expect it. I'm talking about your own insurance company when they deny your claim. If you believe your homeowner's insurance isn't paying what they should, let the lawyers at Farah & Farah review your policy word for word for free. Farah & Farah, here for you, here for good. Jacksonville.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.